Chicago Live on Fox Local. We'll see you back here tonight for the news at 4 and 5. Until then, be safe, be kind, and be well.
See ya.
Next stop, Sherry.
Terrence Lee earlier, we have apps that literally track where our pizza delivery is, but there's nothing that tracks where your kid's school bus is, but maybe until now. We're going to talk with someone about that very idea of just being able to know where your kid is whenever they make that journey between school and home. Also, Casey Cronus, she got the assignment that either makes other people in the newsroom very jealous or very grateful that it's not them. She is just a couple of blocks that direction south from the studio where we sit right now. She's at Lollapalooza. She was just about to walk in the gates when we spoke with her last. She's going to join us a little bit later in the show live to give us just a little bit of a recap of what she saw out there on day one of Lollapalooza. It's a gorgeous looking day out there right now. Feels good, looks good. A great first day for Lollapalooza, but there might be some weather in store. We're going to talk with Emily Walls all about it, about what Lolla goers can expect and when they can expect maybe just a little bit of rain. And if you've been out to Lolla post-rain, it also means maybe just a little bit of mud. Also, Lauren's going to join us for the newest episode of her podcast, Not Live. I believe this is the 4th episode. And listen, without giving away, I want her to reveal who her guest is this week. But I will tell you that if you're a fan of Chicago sports, if you're a fan of the Chicago Bears, if you're a fan of Barstool, you're going to want to tune in. Her guest is a friend of Fox 32. We always love having him on. I know they had an amazing conversation. I haven't even listened to it yet, but I can already tell you they had an amazing conversation. So she's going to join us a little bit later in the show to talk about her newest episode of her podcast. And if you've missed it so far, some of the amazing guests that she's had up to this point. But first, this is a very fascinating topic. And I always use our newsroom to gauge how great of a topic is. And when this one came up a little bit earlier this morning, instantly people around the newsroom started poking their heads up and started weighing in. It's a fascinating topic because there are a lot of rules and laws, I think, whenever it comes to what to do with a pet custody when a married couple gets divorced. But what happens when it's a couple that they've just been dating for a while, they adopted a dog together, and then they split up? It gets a little bit more complicated, and there is a bill, a pet custody bill, House Bill 4540, I believe, that might be able to answer some of those questions. So we're going to bring in Jane McBride, the CEO of Illinois Humane. Jane, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
Oh, you bet. Thank you, Jake.
Of course.
Very much.
Of course. This is a topic that I think is going to be of interest to a lot of people because it is this big giant hypothetical, right? You know, you and your significant other, you get a pet, dog, cat, turtle, whatever the case may be, but then you don't end up working out as a couple, but you both want to take the pet with you. What happens? You're not married, so you can't treat it like a divorce settlement. So can you talk a little bit about this particular bill and maybe how it differs from other bills that are on the books right now?
Sure, and the impetus definitely was the Marital Dissolution Act, which in 2018, they did include the well-being of the animals in those settlements, that the animals themselves had to be taken into consideration. So here we are with this kind of situation. Now I'm going to throw a word at you. It's called replevin, and what that means is wrongfully detained, just basically wrongfully detained. So if one party believes the other party is split up a situation and taken the animal wrongfully, then this statute is available. Now, these cases have been brought, Jake, for years. This has always been available under this replevin statute. However, what we've done with this bill is now give guidance to the court as to how they can particularly take into consideration the needs of the pet. And so that's what really this bill is all about. Kind of long time coming, very much anticipated, and it's the delight of the animal law practitioners that handle these cases, because now increased consideration can be given to the well-being of the pet itself.
When you say needs of the pet, can you? I mean, my girlfriend and I, we have 2 dogs. I grew up with dogs. So I very much understand sort of the basic life necessities. But in regards to 2 people going to court and arguing over a dog, can you sort of specify what needs of the pet means?
Sure. So, as we are realizing in Illinois law, animals have emotional needs. So we even get into that. Also in 2018, we had a third appellate district court that actually acknowledged the sentient nature of animals in a proceeding. That was actually a cruelty case, but the court did acknowledge that these beings are sentient, and so they do have needs. They've got emotional needs. They bond with individuals. But we also get down just to the basic history of the medical care, who has provided the medical care, who has provided, what's the history of the animal, what's the current situation, does the animal have special needs, who might be better able to handle those special needs, such as special medical needs, where are these 2 individuals going to live, how is that going to weigh into the particular needs of the animal as well. So actually the amendment has got it's itemized in this amendment as to guidance for the court as to what to look at, and that's something that the Marital Dissolution Act did not have. So the family lawyers have been kind of working that through, but we've actually got some specific guidance for the court in this law.
Do you think that the results of sort of the new bill is that it's going to be a lot of sort of shared custodies between couples that are splitting up? Or do you think the result is, by looking at these needs of the pet that you're talking about, that it's going to be really choosing one or the other?
Well, this is what we hope, what everyone hopes when they've got joint ownership in an animal, is that some of this can be worked out, all right? And the ability to go into mediation it has been specifically written into this bill. It's the last item that was included in the amendment, so you can go into mediation and try to work that out. Even in the bill also calls for the ability to have a temporary situation where where the court can order immediate temporary custody, but visitation can be part of that as well. So yes, visitation can be part of it in any type of court action like this, and I do believe my colleagues who have worked with these cases, they have worked out visitation as part of a resolution to the matter, if they can settle the matter between the parties. But I do want to say that the threshold to starting one of these cases is that the plaintiff, the person bringing the case, has to be able to file a verified complaint that sets out their ownership interest or the fact that they're entitled to possession, and that's got to be, set out in a factual setting, either by affidavit or certainly whatever the rules of the court are for a verified complaint that's required in this amendment.
So by that, do you mean, and please correct me if I'm wrong, if a person already has a dog and that person starts dating somebody else, and then the new person says, well, over 10 years, I fell in love with this dog, and it feels like my own kid, but the original person already had the dog at the beginning. Does that mean the new person had no right to, whether you fell in love with the dog or not, it's not yours?
To be honest, no. The way this bill is written, and that is some of the inspiration behind this bill, to be honest with you. This bill was a result of some constituents' activism, Representative Hernandez's constituents. No, it specifically says in the bill, ownership of the animal is not absolutely determinative of the case. So let's say that scenario you've got, and let's say this other party has really seriously contributed to this animal, which is often the case, then they can certainly bring that forward, and the court is going to hopefully encourage them to figure this out, such as visitation or one or the other. Hopefully, the attorneys can also help get the parties to come to some resolution on this. But ultimately, yes, that can all be brought to bear in these cases.
I'd imagine there's someone right now who, and listen, like I said, you're talking with someone whose dogs sleep in nicer beds than I do. But there are people who are watching that are going, oh my God, like, it's dogs, who cares, get over it. There are people who just don't understand why that this would be a big deal. So can you talk about how common something like this is? Because I would imagine It's worth emphasizing. Stuff like the creation of this bill indicates that this was a common issue. Like, they don't create this bill for 2 or 3 instances where this happened. I'd imagine this is fairly commonplace, this coming up like this.
It's more and more common, Jake, because people, we have gone beyond just thinking that, the animal's a treasured pet, so to speak. Mm-hmm. The conversation socially in our norms is these beings are family members. Mm-hmm. I mean, your experience, your feeling towards your animal is very common. And so it has become more and more so in society that people consider these pets crucial to their existence. And so it is becoming more common. And this is going to help our attorneys, to be honest with you, work through these cases and be able to present more evidence and work with their clients to a greater extent when the case can be more fully explored based on the fact is how society values these animals as well as the true nature of the animals as sentient beings.
You mentioned this helping attorneys previously before this bill, even before, was it, I believe, 2018, you said, how would they figure this out? I'll tell you, sometimes they would get very sympathetic judges, mm-hmm. and sometimes not so much. The judges might have had more of the attitude that you previously expressed, which was very frustrating for the attorneys as well as the parties. That perhaps the court wanted the expedited means of settling it by saying it's just property, whoever owns it, whoever, trying to find some means to expedite this case, not really take the animal's needs into consideration. So yeah, that's one reason the attorneys were very very glad to see this statute fleshed out to deal with this special protected class of property. Yes, they're property, but in Illinois law, it's a category of property that's highly protected, and more so we are recognizing in the law the sentient nature and the emotional bonds with these animals. Before all of this, it really was just a luck of a draw as to whether or not you got a judge that was a dog fan?
Do I dare say yes, James? Do I dare say yes?
Let me ask you, you mentioned this being Illinois law. Are other states following suit?
Well, they have. We had the second Marital Dissolution Act requirement for well-being. Alaska was before us. And so other states have followed suit with the marital dissolution. I think we're probably right up there, number one, with the replevin statute, to be honest with you. And I suspect they will follow suit with that because, again, they have the same considerations. And people live in all different situations now, with pets. And one thing, let me this scenario, let's say you've got 2 roommates, they have an animal, and all of a sudden somebody leaves, and the animal's abandoned to one of the parties. The party tries to get the attention of the original owner, may to speak, and they just can't. And so that person is now taking care of that animal for a year and a half, whatever. So there's a good basis for possession of that animal. I mean, so many different things happen in our society today, but we're just trying to make sure the animals that get caught up in these situations are adequately taken care of, and that the law reflects the need to review what those needs are in a disposition of these cases.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to a couple, maybe they've been dating for a year, what have you, and they're rolling down to the local animal shelter and they're going to get a dog together, they're going to get a cat, they're going to get a parakeet, what have you. Is it, I don't want this to sound ridiculous, but should there be a pet prenup? What advice would you have, an agreement? You don't want to make plans for if it doesn't work out, but obviously this is something that needs to be discussed in advance, right?
From a lawyer's perspective, yes, definitely. If you're, please do this. It's just like when we talk about estate planning, please think about that pet, when you're doing your estate planning. Because if something should happen to you or, for older adults like myself, I should have a pet trust in line and just in case. So anyway, let's get back to your scenario. Yes, if you are looking at jointly adopting a pet, think it through. What happens if you don't stay together? Preferably it's in writing. So, breakups are emotional. Breakups are tough. If you had that done in writing ahead of time, that would be very helpful. And that's, marital situations are very tough, and they fight over the pets. So you don't want, you want the pet's needs taken care of. You don't want to be fighting over that pet in the end if you can help it. You want to make sure that family member is adequately addressed and taken care of. Visitation is fine, if you can swing visitation, that's great.
It's worth having a conversation about. I do agree with you. What happens with the bill now? Where are we, and then what else needs to happen?
Well, it is passed, Jake, and signed by the governor last week. It has been signed by the governor. It comes into effect January 1st. So I do, couples, people, folks, roommates who have joint custody of animals, think about it. You might want to, I know I have one friend down here in Springfield who's quite shook up about it and is going to think about making sure they've got this discussed through. As I said, this cause of action has been available all the way through, but now we're bringing further attention to it, which is all good. The courts actually have some discretion, so it is coming into law January 1st.
Why do I feel like puppy prenups is about to be a very popular searched term on Google?
It would be all good. It would be all good.
You know what? Like you said, from the perspective of a lawyer, get it done, get it figured out, get it in writing. Jane McBride, CEO of Illinois Humane. Fascinating conversation, one that's absolutely worth having, and I appreciate you taking the time today.
We thank you very much. It's important people understand this.
Absolutely, and we appreciate you doing that for us. Thank you very much. Have a good day. All right, guys, Chicago Live rolls on 117. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 119 on Chicago Live. We want to show you just a live picture over at Lollapalooza right now. We got a couple of cameras posted up around Grant Park, and you can see the crowds will listen, it's early on a Thursday. I promise you this exact shot in a couple of hours is going to look wildly different. This exact shot in a couple of days on a Saturday is going to look wildly different. But it's the early Thursday crowd. These are the serious Lala goers that are probably going to be there from gates open to gates closed for 4 days straight. Let's see, looks like they're in between sets right now. But let's see, this is the one that's over at, is that the one that's over at like the corner of Millennium Park? Yeah, the corner of Millennium Park. So that's not one of the main stages, right? Yeah, it's like a side stage. You know what? Still, I've seen bands there. Still plenty of good stuff happening out there. Day one of Lollapalooza. We're going to talk with Casey Cronus in a couple of, about an hour and a half. She's been out there, and then we're going to talk with Emily Walls about what the weather is going to look like for the next couple of days. But first, we want to talk about this. Chicago is launching a new program to help older adults impacted by the sudden closure of those Save-A-Lot grocery stores on the south and west side. Let's see, and so it's Mayor Brandon Johnson announcing Lyft is providing a $25,000 grant to fund free round-trip rides to grocery stores. The program will be coordinated through United Way of Metro. So we're going to talk with Jackie Rosa, Chief Programs Officer, United Way of Metro. Jackie, are you with us?
I am. I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Or good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Honestly, it's all a blur. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm right there with you. Thank you for taking the time to join us. This sounds like a great program that I hate that we need to have. So can maybe for people who kind of missed the initial steps of this story, can you start back at the beginning and talk about why this program was necessary?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was recent closures, as you mentioned, of the Save-A-Lot grocery stores, primarily on the city's south and west sides, which already are unfortunately considered food deserts, meaning that they don't have access to grocery stores readily available. And so I know often we take that for granted. In a lot of neighborhoods in Chicago, you'll have multiple grocery stores. But unfortunately, for many of these grocery stores, that grocery store was the one in their community that was easily accessible. So with the closing of those sudden closing, I should say, of those grocery stores, the city of Chicago reached out, the mayor's office, and really pulled together quickly a really great partnership between United Way of Metro Chicago and Lyft, utilizing our 211 line that United Way of Metro Chicago runs. And so 211, for folks that don't know, is the Health and Human Service line for the city of Chicago and suburban Cook County. So this line is a free line. It's available 24/7, 365 days a year. Any individual can call and get connected to Health and Human Services that are non-emergency. And the way that it works is that you speak to a live app navigator that connects you with local resources, depending on your zip code provided. So by being able to utilize that existing line, we're directing seniors in those communities that have lost their grocery store suddenly to call 211 and be able to speak to a live navigator and get a free code to be able to use Lyft to provide transportation to and from grocery stores.
Can we talk about specifically who is eligible to be able to get these free lifts?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is, we're saying seniors as a definition by the City of Chicago Department of Aging is 60 and older. So the requirements are you're 60 and over, you're in a neighborhood that was impacted by the sudden closures. So that would be the Auburn Gresham neighborhood, Inglewood, South Chicago, South Shore, West Garfield Park, West Lawn, and West Pullman. You call 211, you get connected to a live navigator. They will walk you through the process. You may or may not have a Lyft app, but they will still walk you through the process and then provide you with a unique code to be able to get a $25 Lyft ride, up to 2 rides, which would be a total of $50.
Can we talk, I want to talk about, for maybe older adults who maybe just don't use the rideshare services, that don't use Lyft. You guys are working with them to kind of help figure that out?
Yes, totally. So that's the really great thing about having a live navigator. Our live navigators are trained to be able to talk to individuals of all skill sets, all ages. And so by being able to talk to a live navigator, they'll be able to walk you through the process of downloading the app. Lyft also has a setting on it called like Silver Lyft that is geared towards older adults, that is a little bit more simplified, larger font that seniors can use to be able to also navigate the Lyft system. And so our navigators are able to walk the individual through that system, help them either use the app if they already have it or download it, and then give them a unique code to be able to access that ride.
This sounds like a really great sort of immediate potential solution, or at least assistance for this sort of this sudden issue that was thrust upon people who lost their ability to have easy access to groceries. Are there more long-term plans on how this is going to be solved, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I will say that from United Way, from our 211 line, 211 is available for everyone. Beyond just this partnership with Lyft, we want individuals to call 211 to be connected to local food resources. And so we do also have a partnership with the Chicago Greater Food Depository, where individuals, regardless of age, can call and be connected to a local food pantry in their neighborhood, to be connected to fresh fruits and vegetables and groceries that they may not be able to afford or have access to. So beyond just this partnership with Lyft, we also have a Lyft with the Chicago Greater Food Depository, and that partnership is continuing and ongoing, especially recognizing that food insecurity and access to healthy food is becoming more and more a challenge as food prices rise and cuts to public benefits like SNAP.
Well, you touched on something interesting, which is other purposes for 211. In addition to sort of getting set up with sort of these free transportations through you guys and through Lyft, can you maybe explain to people that don't know what other great resources 211 is available for?
Yeah, absolutely. So 211 is now in its third year in existence. So always want to clarify, 211 is not 311. 311 is for city services. That's going to be for your potholes and garbage cans, things of that nature. 211 is for health and human services. So that's anything from food, which we've been talking about right now, healthcare, childcare, mental health services, housing services. And so by calling 211, again, you're going to talk to a navigator. They're going to run through a quick intake process. We don't collect any personal information. All the information that we collect is really to help you provide the best services that are the closest to you. And so you talk to a navigator, you explain to them, it might be a single mother who is facing childcare challenges and needs to get to work. And so by talking to the navigator, they'll be able to walk her through a series of questions to then help her find childcare that is affordable for the individual to be able to find in their community.
That's great. That's fantastic. You mentioned something fascinating and very true at the top of our conversation, which is that a lot of us take for granted how many grocery stores we have within a stone's throw distance. But for a lot of people that lived around these stores, these Save-A-Lot stores that shut down, it's a massive deal. It may have been the only one, and transportation is such a massive factor. Do you think that maybe people don't truly maybe appreciate or understand how important transportation is whenever you lose access to be able to get to maybe what was the one grocery store in your neighborhood?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think lack of transportation, again, as you mentioned, is a huge barrier, right? So it's not just the losing of the grocery store, but it's the inability to be able to travel across the city to then get groceries. And so this is why this Lyft partnership is so vital, especially for seniors, right? Who may or may not have, access to somebody to come and pick them up or drive them places. This is going to be vital in ensuring that they get the groceries that they need. And we know that this isn't enough, right? We recognize that this partnership right now is sort of a Band-Aid. It's a kind of a quick fix, an immediate fix that is greatly needed in this moment as we continue to think of other ways that grocery stores and availability of fresh food can help alleviate the burden while we hopefully get new grocery stores in those communities.
Jackie, do we have a launch date for this program yet?
Yeah, so August 3rd, Monday, August 3rd is the launch date for this program. We're really excited. Folks are already calling, but want to make sure that as many individuals hear about this opportunity, really want to take care of our seniors because in so many ways they're pillars of our communities, and we want to ensure that they are getting connected and the resources that they deserve.
And I don't want to ask the same question twice, but maybe for someone that went to go grab a pen or they need to call someone and tell them how this works. One more time, can you just give us the rundown of calling to just to make sure people understand how it works and what we need to do starting August 3rd?
Absolutely. So you can call 24/7, 365 days a year. You're going to call 211. You're going to ask to be connected to a live navigator. Let them know that you are a senior. Again, we're saying that seniors are 60 and above. Give them your zip code of one of the neighborhoods impacted by the sudden grocery store closures. Again, those neighborhoods are Auburn, Gresham, Inglewood, South Chicago, South Shore, West Garfield, West Lawn, and West Pullman. You will give them your zip code that's connected to one of those communities, and then the navigator will walk you through the process of either downloading the Lyft app if you don't already have it, or walking you through the Lyft app and provide you a unique code for a $25 voucher. Up to 2 times you can call, so it would be a total of $50 per senior.
A valuable tool. Jackie Rosa, Chief Programs Officer, United Way of Metro Chicago. Sounds like a really important program, especially for the people that need that right now. So thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, guys, 1:30 Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 1:34. We are on standby for the Illinois Space Station presser, but for now we're going to listen in to the Senate floor.
And his work will continue to benefit our state for generations to come. So congratulations, Lyman Hoffman, my friend Lyman. Thank you. At some point, the special legislative sessions will end, and you will be able to conclude this incredible chapter of service to our state. And when that day arrives, and long into the future, Alaskans will remember you, we will celebrate you, and we will remain grateful for all that you have done. With that, Madam President, I thank you and I yield the floor. Wyoming for the opportunity to speak.
Madam President.
Senator from Wyoming.
Yeah, I thank the gentlelady from Alaska for visiting about a local legislator. They're tremendously important to all of us. Madam President, yesterday I addressed this chamber because we're wasting time we do not have to get the digital asset market structure bill passed, the bill called the Clarity Act. It is a strong bipartisan path forward that we have, and it's the best way for us to give digital assets, especially in this country, the certainty they need, and ensure the U.S. leads on digital asset innovation. The way to do it is through bipartisan support of this bill. And again, this is a very good bill, a bill created out of necessity, because the status quo does not work. My friend Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and I released the Lummis-Gillibrand Responsible Financial Innovation Act together in 2022 to give the U.S. industry the regulatory clarity it needs to thrive on U.S. soil, to give consumers the confidence they need to participate in our digital economy, and give law enforcement the tools they need to crack down on illicit finance and hold bad actors accountable. That 168-page bill would become the foundation for the Clarity Act. A year later, in 2023, we added 100 pages with stronger consumer protection provisions. Yet we got feedback from colleagues that they wanted more. So again, we listened. Today, this bill that was under 300 pages is more than 600 pages. That's hundreds of pages built over 11 months of daily bipartisan negotiations in windowless rooms where colleagues from both parties shared their priorities, and we worked diligently to incorporate them. Title I alone has 33 separate Democrat-driven edits. We added 23 new sections on illicit finance at Democrats' request. Democrats secured another 30 wins in the CFTC portion of the bill, plus we created the 3 entirely new titles they wanted. And that's all before we even get to ethics, where the president bent over backwards to get my Democrat colleagues to a yes. We have 100 clear examples of compromise, and yet for some, this still isn't enough. Holding out for a perfect bill stopped being principled months ago. It has become an excuse not to legislate at all. And the people who pay for that excuse aren't in this room. They're the people we're about to talk about, the digital asset industry and the consumers who wish to participate with confidence in this digital economy, not to mention the future generations who will miss out because too many in this chamber said, not yet, I'm not ready. I've got an election in November, don't want to do it. The status quo in this industry doesn't work. It's not working for the digital asset industry or law enforcement or consumers. We have already watched exchanges collapse with no functioning bankruptcy framework built for this asset class. And we have already watched ordinary people stand in line for years waiting on bankruptcy courts to claw back pennies on the dollar of what they lost. When Celsius and Voyager went bankrupt, Customer deposits didn't stay customer deposits. They became assets in a bankruptcy pool, fought over by creditors who had never even heard of the people who actually owned those assets. More than 4 million Americans lost access to their own money in 2022 because we don't have the protections the Clarity Act puts in place. And thousands of them are still sorting through bankruptcy claims today. That's what no regulation looks like. That's not a hypothetical or a talking point. That's real people suffering real losses, real years spent in bankruptcy court fighting for money that should never have been up for grabs in the first place. Customers will once again be put in a nasty fight with Wall Street law firms that they have no hope to win. If you believe in consumer protection, we must pass this bill to give consumers the protection in bankruptcy they deserve. Not passing this bill means everyone in this chamber will have to deservedly hang their heads the next time a crypto exchange collapses. Because there will be a next time, absent regulation. No one in this chamber gets to act surprised by that. It already happened. And if we don't get our acts together, it's going to happen again to our constituents under the exact same broken rules while we all sit here debating whether a bill with over 100 Democratic wins is still somehow not good enough. Another FTX is not a hypothetical we're guarding against. It's a guaranteed outcome of leaving this industry with no custody rules, no consumer protections, and no consequences when a platform fails people. And by the way, foreign adversaries aren't just waiting around for us to finish deliberating. They're moving money through the exact gaps this bill closes right now, today, while we hold out for something more perfect than what's already sitting on the table. To those who've already said they're a no vote, let me be clear. A no vote isn't a statement against President Trump because he's already given you what you asked for. It's a vote to keep American consumers inside a system we already know to be flawed on a theory that the fix wasn't good enough. It's a vote to drive American innovation, American jobs, and American oversight of this jurisdiction to Singapore or the UAE or whichever jurisdiction is happy to take what we're too foolish to accept.
Welcome back, 145 on Chicago Live. We talked about this a little bit earlier this week. Chicago is tightening its standards for purchasing firearms, ammunition, and firearm accessories. Mayor Brandon Johnson has signed an executive order requiring the city to buy only from suppliers that demonstrate strong legal compliance and responsible business practices. So we're going to bring in Reverend Sierra Bates Chamberlain, Executive Director of Live Free Illinois. Reverend, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So first of all, can you tell me just a little bit about Live Free Illinois?
Sure. Live Free Illinois, we're a faith-based organizing entity. We organize over 130 congregations at the intersection of public safety and criminal justice reform. We have our organizing and policy work, which right now in Chicago, we've been advocating for the Department of Gun Violence Reduction. We also have our Decarceration Fellowship, and then we also have our Community Healing Resource Center network. So we do a lot of work across the state to ensure that we have safe communities and that Black folks can live free across this state.
You mentioned gun violence reduction being very important. Do you believe that this sort of tightening of standards is going to have a major impact?
Absolutely. You know, gun violence reduction, it takes a comprehensive approach. And while we know that there are multiple strategies, being that we have hundreds and thousands of people who are impacted by this every year, we need to make sure that we're investing in every single solution that we can. And I do believe that this procurement policy is one of the solutions that we absolutely need to invest in, being that we have so many guns that are flooding our streets across the country.
You know, whenever we were talking about sort of the city maybe, you know, purchasing firearms from places that are demonstrating, as I said, sort of strong legal compliance and responsible business practices, does this sort of new sort of tightening of standards, does it imply that we weren't before?
I would say that it wasn't that. I wouldn't say that the city of Chicago wasn't before. I would say that that we have to ensure that we're holding actors who should be responsible for making sure that they're following government standards and procedures, and being that they're not, it means that cities and states have to go a step further.
Absolutely. And I mean, for someone that says, well, I don't see what the connection is between the city's purchasing decisions and the reduction of gun violence, can you sort of connect the two for them?
Absolutely. So again, when we put out numbers that say that there are 5% of manufacturers who are responsible for over 90% of crime guns, that means that we have to make sure that guns are not getting in traffic, getting into the hands of our young people. We have so many illegal guns that are in our communities, and we know that it should not be easier for kids to have access to guns than books, but in certain communities and situations, it is. So when we're holding the manufacturers accountable to make sure that they're complying with investigations, to make sure that even their marketing strategies is in compliance with the federal standards, they should be held accountable to making sure that they are good actors. We're not saying ban guns at this point, but what we are saying is that when you're selling them, you have to follow regulation. It's the same thing if you're driving the car and you have to put a seatbelt. There are regulations that we have to follow. We have to make sure that we're eliminating or trying to reduce the number of illegal purchases for guns and straw purchasers. So all of these things matter, and everyone has a role in it. But when you have manufacturers who are not being accountable to their portion in reducing gun violence, it does leave a gap unfilled to our violence reduction strategies. And they have to be accountable because, again, there are so many illegal guns on the streets, and there's a clear pathway through that says that we can reduce them if these manufacturers were also accountable and making sure that they're eliminating their role in gun trafficking.
What do you think is going to be the best indicator that this is actually working? Obviously, you enact it on a Wednesday, you can't look at it on a Thursday and say whether it's successful or not. But what are some of the long-term signs that you're looking for to determine the success of this?
I definitely think as we continue to see the studies that are going out around gun trafficking, the reduced amount of guns that are actually on our streets, there's a lot of data that the Trace Report will put out, organizations like Everytown and Brady, of course, that put out around how we're tracking the number of illegal guns that are being put out into the community. Like there was one study by Everytown that mentioned that within 3 years, once a gun is purchased, within the 3 year span, that gun is found back into Chicago on the street. So over time, I would say we should be looking at our studies within the next 3 to 5 years and should be able to see the reductions. But again, I really want to highlight the importance of the city making this step, because the city, our budgets are a moral document. And so we can make sure that while we can't control necessarily what the gun manufacturers are doing, but if they're not abiding by federal standards, we should not be a part of their profit margin. We should absolutely withhold our dollars and make sure that individuals who are abiding by standards get our business.
Reverend, I'd imagine you kind of, as they say, sort of have your finger on the pulse. I mean, you talk to people every day in the community, and you talk to people, perhaps maybe even who have been impacted by gun violence. What are you hearing from people these days?
I mean, people, while, a lot of people are talking about the numbers because there have been reductions in shootings and homicides in Chicago. However, there are still hundreds of people who are impacted by gun violence every day. So people want to see the violence stop. People want to be able to send their children outside to the parks, ride their bikes outside in peace and knowing that they're not worried about gunfire ringing out. People want to live free from gun violence. So while, again, we know the numbers are going down, there's still a lot of families who can't feel those reductions because we are seeing children dying. Literally, you turn on the news, you see a 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 15-year-old shot down, and they're victims of gun violence. And so our communities are still beating the drum that we need to end this very just despicable place that we're in when we are constantly every year being faced with gun violence in our communities. Like, people are tired and people are hurting.
Absolutely. Do you know if other cities have tried anything like this? Do you know if, or are we kind of leading the way in that regard?
Based on some of the work that some of the national organizations are doing, between Brady, who is the leader across the country on work and procurement, there are some cities who have done a variety of different policies around procurement. But I do think that Chicago, being one of the largest and greatest cities in the country, taking this step, it is definitely putting us as a leader on some of these groundbreaking policies.
And I would imagine, as you said, Chicago being what it is, a lot of cities are probably actively watching right now to see what either some of the immediate impact or long-term impact coming from this. I'd imagine we're very much being watched right now in that regard.
Yes, Chicago is absolutely being watched, whether it is from other cities, whether it's from the president. Like, people are watching what Chicago is doing about gun violence. That is why I am very excited that we were able to have the Department of Gun Violence Reduction executive order signed. Then this executive order being signed to address procurement policies, and then eventually passing the ordinance for the Department of Gun Violence Reduction. Chicago is leading the way and making sure that we are trying to address this from every single angle that we can, whether it's policy, CVI, prevention, any way that we can do it. We know and understand that we have to make sure that we're saving our children and families from gun violence.
Reverend, I'd love to know, when people are impacted by gun violence, a lot of times they do turn to their faith. And so I would imagine that a lot of families have come to you after, feeling the direct impact of gun violence. What do you tell them when a family comes to you and they're looking for answers, they're looking for solutions, and it's something that has been a part of this city, that we've been trying to figure out for a while now. How do you find answers in moments like that?
Sometimes there are no answers because I believe that no one should lose their child or their loved one to gun violence. So sometimes there are no answers. But what we can say is that what do? We have to all be involved, and we all have to fight because we keep us safe. We are the ones who set the North Star on what safety looks like for us. And so we have to make sure that we're holding our aldermen, we're holding the mayor, we're holding the state, county, that we're holding the leaders accountable to investing in community solutions and investing in our people. And so while we may grieve the fact that we are constantly losing loved ones, we must also pick up our community together, and we have to organize to create the communities that we want to live in.
With any big decision that is made in the city of Chicago, you're going to have people that agree with it, and you're going to have people that don't agree with it. I'd imagine there are already critics of this decision. I'm curious, have you been made aware? Have you heard of any pushback to sort of this tightening of rules? And if you have, what are your answers to people that question whether or not this is going to do anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it. I've seen the comments online, and my pushback is that many people have the issue is that we just need to lock people up. And that is not the solution. People have tried for years, elected officials have tried tough on crime approaches. They've done more of investing in the police department. Like, those solutions and strategies have been in place for a long time, and they didn't work. But what we do know is that in the same ways we want to hold children and people who are in impoverished neighborhoods that don't have our neighborhoods don't even have gun shops in them in the city. So we know that there are people who are they are profiting from making sure that our communities have guns in them and that that crime exists. So they absolutely should be held accountable to the conditions that they are creating in our community. So I would say to them that we absolutely need these policies. This does not say that we're taking away anyone's gun rights. We're simply saying that just as with any other machinery or things that we're operating, there's regulations. There should be regulations with guns, and everyone should be held accountable to make sure that they're held to those standards.
Fair enough. Reverend Sierra Bates Chamberlain, Executive Director of Live Free Illinois. Reverend, we truly do appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Bye.
All right, guys, 1:58. Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Just about 2:01 right now on Chicago Live as we move into our 2 o'clock hour. Two things that have never really gotten along, have never necessarily been copacetic, and that is the Chicago budget and pension. The promises of pension far oftentimes outweigh the ability of the Chicago budget to be able to fulfill those promises. But there's a new dashboard that is really showcasing just how much, well, you know what, we're going to let Connor Durkin explain. Connor Durkin is a writer over at A City That Works. Connor, first of all, thank you for taking the time, sir. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So first of all, tell me what led you initially to sort of create this dashboard exactly.
Sure. So we've been covering a lot of different public policy issues facing Chicago at A City That Works for a while now. And pensions and sort of our myriad of fiscal challenges have been one of the big things I've focused on. And I think one of the big issues here, I think everybody knows pensions are a big deal. They're sort of the boogeyman in the room every budget season on an ongoing basis. But it's not always the easiest thing to actually find the numbers and see exactly how we're doing. Occasionally you'll get reports about we're X% funded or we have X billion dollars of debt. But I just wanted to do what I could to lay it all out there and let people be able to visualize what our problem is, what the scope of it is, and exactly we can eventually dig our ways out of it.
You mentioned the numbers not being easy to find. How did you go about finding all the information that you needed?
Yeah, for the most part, I think a slight clarification, most of the stuff is out there. It's just buried in documents that are not necessarily the easiest things for you to read. So there are some good groups out there too. Boston College has a center on retirement studies where they have a really nice database for all pension systems in the U.S. And so you can get some of their stuff from there. The city of Chicago itself puts out an annual comprehensive financial report, the ACFR, that outlines exactly how the city's done in the last year. So you can pull the last 5, 10, 20 of those and see how we're trending over time. And by law, the pension funds themselves have to disclose everything. So you can pull numbers from there. So all the numbers are out there. They're just not aggregated in one nice place that you can look at everything neatly until hopefully now. So it's a little bit easier just to look at everything at once.
So once you were able to kind of put everything together into one place and sort of look at everything in a way that maybe you hadn't been able to sort of see before, how did it change your perspective on the current situation that we're in? What was your takeaway whenever you were able to get all these numbers lined up in a sort of more succinct way?
Yeah, I'd say there's a couple interesting-ish observations that I found. One of the things I think is just it's often difficult to think of how large the scope of the problem actually is. If you look at how much our assets versus liabilities have diverged over time. As of today, if you compare our total assets in the pension system, we still have less assets today than we did in 2007. Just based on historic underfunding that we've had. Compare that to what our liabilities have done since 2007. We're up, I think, 3x. So, you can just it's really striking if you just look at how our assets have sort of trended flat versus the liabilities just keep going and going. That's one part. Another thing, somewhat better news, I guess, is if you take a look at the numbers now, the last few years, it's been an increasingly difficult budget conversation for our pension payments just keep getting larger and larger and larger as we climbed what we call the pension ramp, where we started getting to a point where we're getting close to fully funding the system on an ongoing basis so we can chip away at our liabilities till 2050s. On a go-forward basis, we don't see those giant spikes upwards. It's just going to be a steady climb of 2 to 3% a year. Our pension payments keep going up. So we've done a lot of the hard work. We just need to making the progress to advancing the ball further than we have.
Is now that you're able to sort of put the numbers together and take a step back and sort of look at it, is the problem worse than you thought it was going to be whenever you began this project?
It's a good question. I think it's a really hard problem. I think I knew it was a really hard problem, but I do think it is at least a solvable problem of, we have a defined amount that we need to spend. There are things that there's no silver bullet, but there are a lot of small things that we can do to help leave ourselves in a better position going forward. And I think we just need to do a lot of those things. And so I do think it's going to be really important. One of the reasons we want to do this now is obviously there's an election coming up. Pensions being sort of one of the most important financial things or fiscal things we have that is within a mayor's power. I think it's really important to make sure that, as we approach election season, that our candidates for office are really thinking hard about what are the levers they can pull to try and attack this hard problem.
You mentioned the elections coming up. It stands to reason that these numbers that you've compiled together, this dashboard that you've created, could be brought up by somebody in defiance of their opposer in an election. Are you prepared for whether you want to or not potentially getting wrapped up in the election cycle later this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think pensions are really important. I think this is a really important election cycle, and I really hope that this is useful to both the candidates that are running for office as well as the public that's going to be electing somebody to office. I don't think that any serious candidate can ignore our pension issues, and they should have a really good plan for it. And hopefully, this will, at least shed some light on the situation.
I asked you earlier if when looking at the numbers, if it felt like the project was maybe bigger than you thought. But as you look at the numbers and you sort of see everything together, is there a morsel of hope to be found anywhere in there? Is there a solution or the first step of a solution buried anywhere in those numbers, or is that someone else's problem?
Luckily, no. I think so. The first layer of hope is that we have done a lot of the hard work already of climbing the pension ramp. And so now the hard part is to just not take any steps backwards and keep grinding away at it year after year. We shouldn't have, barring something really bad happening in the markets, we shouldn't have any giant spikes to our contributions. We just need to keep grinding away at it. Secondly, I think the important thing is just there are levers we can pull that will make the long run problem better off. So as an example, over the last 4 or 5 years, maybe longer than that, we've had these supplemental pension payments where we're actually putting in more than we're legally obligated to in the system, with the idea that putting more money in now, the returns on that investment will compound over time. So down the road, you'll have to put in less money. And one of the nice things in this dashboard, there's a scenarios tab where you can see if we put more money in than we're obligated to, how much does that bring your lifetime contributions down? And that will pay really big dividends. So that's one of the good things that we started doing under Mayor Lightfoot and we've continued doing under Mayor Johnson. And, as one example, I think that's the first place we should start in terms of not an easy win, but a good solution towards helping the long-term problem.
Have you got a reaction from anyone about this that's particularly stood out?
I would say there's a lot of people that have just had some pretty good feedback. It's gotten a fair number of views through our newsletter to City That Works. It seems like people are really big fans, and feedback has in general been just really positive. I don't think we've had anything in particular that stood out beyond wow, this is really cool. Thanks for doing this.
Is there anyone in particular within the city of Chicago you would love to put this in front of and just say, hey, I did the work, would love for you to see it?
Yeah, I mean, to your point earlier, I think anybody who's running for office, I hope this is something that they would take a look at just to better understand the pension problem and help shed some more light on it. I think one of the main things we're trying to do at A City That Works is just offer up good solutions or good proposals towards solving our myriad of public policy issues. And I think this is a component of that. And anybody that is interested in, public service, I hope, we're here to help out with whatever solutions we can come up with.
I wanted to ask, for people that are unfamiliar with A City That Works, can you tell us about that a little bit?
Sure. So City That Works is a newsletter on Substack. You can check us out at citythatworks.substack.com or at citythatworks.org. We cover public policy problems in Chicago with a pretty data-driven, fact-based analysis. We're not unbiased. We definitely think particular problems are bigger than others, and we have opinions on how we should be solving those problems. But we, have pretty deep dives on a week, at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, on a variety of issues. Some of our top ones we usually cover public finance and pensions. We cover a lot of housing stuff, public safety, transit, etc. So.
Fantastic. Colin Durkin, we appreciate you, sir. Writer at A City That Works. Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Of course. All right, guys. 2:10. Can we take a live look at Lala? See what we got going on over there? All right. We got someone on the stage right now. I don't have the schedule in front of me. Is that a circle of bikes? On the left side in the crowd, there's a circle of people. that are running around. I don't know what they're doing. They got more energy than me. Something's happening. What is happening? They're like swinging somebody. You know, there's music playing. You could just listen to that. All right, guys, that's a live look. Not one of the main stages, but one of the side stages at Millennium Park. As day one of Lollapalooza rolls on, crowd already getting bigger since the first time that we checked in earlier. We do have someone obviously performing. We were between sets whenever we checked in a little bit earlier, but yeah, they're swinging somewhere around. They're running around in circles, and it is 2:11. What is it? The Bad Nerves is the group playing? Oh, I'm so old. At the Alliance stage. All right. They're running around in circles. They're having a good time. It's 2:11 on a Thursday. Day one of Lollapalooza. Save your strength. All right, guys. Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Just about 2:15 on Chicago Live. This is a story that's almost quite literally going on right now. So Chicago Public Schools lunchroom workers moving closer to a possible strike after going more than a year without a contract. The lunchroom workers were actually picketing a little bit earlier today. The Board of Education and CPS is actually voting on a budget for them right now. We're going to bring in Patrick Griffin with Unite Here One. They represent the lunchroom workers. Patrick, thank you for taking the time, sir. We appreciate you.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Of course. For people that are catching up, can you just let us know what's happening right now?
Sure. So the members of our union, the lunchroom ladies in the Chicago Public Schools, have been negotiating a contract over the last year. They're the lowest paid people in the school system or within the schools. A lot of them make about $17.75 per hour. And because they're paid so low, about 22% of them report going to food pantries regularly. And they feel as though they should be paid equally to the other support staff in the schools, and so they've been fighting to raise their wages. And these negotiations have gone on for a while. And so today, after a picket line at the school board meeting, they said that they wanted to begin fact finding, which is a step they have to go through before going on strike.
Can you talk about what's the specifics of what it is that that you're asking for?
Sure. So we're asking for people to be paid equally to the other support staffs. The other support staff in the schools have a minimum yearly salary of about $40,000 a year. And we're also asking for the lunchrooms to be fully staffed. Over the years, partly because the pay is so low, it's very hard to hire people into these positions. And it has become difficult to have enough people in the lunchroom. So where there used to be sometimes 20 people, there might be 5 people now, or where there used to be 5 people, there might be 1 or 2 people. So these are the things that people are really wanting to see change. At the end of the day, the lunch ladies really care about the students, and they, love taking care of the students. They love feeding the students, and they want to be able to continue doing that. And a lot of them just can't afford to do so, making the low wages that they're making now.
Can we flash back a little bit to earlier today? Can you tell me a little bit about the picketing earlier today and how it went?
Sure. I think it was one of many picket lines that we've had in front of the school board. In the summer, not everybody is working, but a lot of people came out because they really don't want to see another school year come and go without the pay that they need. And so we've had, this is one of many picket lines. In April, a large group of lunch ladies got arrested in front of the school board, trying to draw attention to the crisis that they've been going through. And it's one action that they've done, and I'm sure that there will be many more.
I believe that the vote is going on right now. Is that correct?
The vote for the school budget, yes.
Okay. Can you talk about what your expectations for that vote are?
I don't know. I personally don't have expectations on whether the budget is going to pass or not pass. I think that I'm a parent of 3 CPS kids. I want to CPS to be able to pass a budget that pays for all of the things that students need, and that includes the meals for so many students in the school system. So I'm not sure if the budget is going to pass or not, but what we really want to see happen is that they find money in the budget to take care of these people who, some of whom have worked in the schools for 20 or 30 years and are still making under $20 an hour.
And you mentioned sort of those annual wages being sort of a huge factor. Are there other factors at play in regards to these workers that need to be addressed?
I think that, so there's the wages and then the staffing levels, which have kind of declined drastically over time. I think that in the last 15 years, they maybe have gone down like 39%. And that makes the work in the lunchroom so much more stressful. That is probably the second biggest concern. And as you can imagine, having extremely low pay and extremely difficult work, respect is really like the thing that people feel as though they do not have the respect that they should have, considering all of the work that they do and the amount of care and love that they give to the children every day.
Absolutely. If money is not found in the budget, does it stand to reason that we would be looking at a strike?
I think that money can be found in the budget. This is, the lunch ladies are a they play a very big role within CPS, but their numbers are much, much smaller than most other things in the budget. And so it would cost a fraction of a percent of the budget to make sure that these people are taken care of. I think that if the school board can't figure out how to take care of these people, then a strike is something that we definitely would not be taking off the table. And, we want to make sure that we have all available actions available to us to take if we have to.
Absolutely. Patrick Griffin, Unite Here One. It's a story that we're going to continue to follow and update you on. Thank you for taking the time, sir. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All right, guys, 2:21, almost 2:22. Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Just about 2:25 on Chicago Live. Here's maybe the line of the day that I thought was interesting. You can track a pizza from the oven to your front door, but many parents still can't track their child's school bus. We're going to bring in Keith Corso with Busright. He is the founder and the CEO. Keith, thank you for taking the time, man. We appreciate you.
Of course, Jake. Thanks so much for having us on the show.
Absolutely. What initially made you realize that this was an issue that needed to be addressed?
My school bus driver, Joy, was my best friend growing up. And when she retired, I watched as substitute drivers and new school bus drivers were staring at physical paper route sheets. 6 o'clock in the morning, they're trying to match the 10-point fine print to a mailbox number. My stop was skipped day after day, and drivers were quitting what felt like week after week. And I soon learned that school buses were the largest mass transit system in the country, and the way that millions of students get access to their education, and there had to be a better way to empower the people on the front lines of mobilizing our nation's future. And that is what kind of birthed Busright.
So, obviously, the only way to solve a problem is if you have the solution. So you kind of figure it out. What do you think were some of the major issues that you needed to zero in on, and how did you figure out what the solutions were?
So there are three critical issues that are plaguing what is, again, the largest mass transit network. Number one is there's a severe school bus driver shortage. This country simply does not have enough bus drivers to get kids to school safely and efficiently every day. Number two, there's heightened expectations from parents around their child's safety, not only in the school building itself, but also in the journey going to and from it. And then number three, routes are becoming increasingly more complicated. Routes for school buses used to look more like trains on rails, where it did the same thing every day. That world is now gone, and routes are becoming a lot more dynamic. And so when you bring all that together, it creates a infrastructure for K-12 that is breaking at the seams.
All right, Keith, I haven't ridden a school bus in a long time, so I want to zero in on number three. What do you mean the routes are becoming more? Because I'm of the generation where it was the same exact stops every single day, same kids got off at the same street corners. What do you mean the routes are becoming dynamic? How is that possible?
For sure. So when you have tablets on school buses, which we provide, that can dynamically route based on, is this student Jake going to this parent's house this day or that parent's house? Does this student have an IEP requirement that necessitates a wheelchair accessible vehicle or a bus aid? There are more extracurricular programs after school than ever before. And so is a student going to a certain program on Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Parent expectations around a personalized transportation schedule are also heightened. So transportation leaders feel like they need to ensure they're delivering on where that kid needs to be every single day, which can often be a different schedule, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And technology is ushering in the ability to deliver personalization at scale in a safe and efficient way.
So how are you bringing in technology? You mentioned the tablets. So what would be required of the drivers then, I'm assuming?
So we put tablets on every school bus, provides drivers with turn-by-turn navigation that's engineered for that vehicle because buses can only go down certain roads. That tablet also lets the driver know things like what students can be getting on or off the bus at every single stop. Is there a certain parent or guardian that is able to be there for that child that day? Otherwise, you can't drop them off. It gives them all of this intelligence and context all throughout their route, so drivers can truly focus on what they do best, which is focusing on the road ahead of them, driving safely, and building relationships with those students behind them. Next, we have parents. We put an app in a parent's hand that gives them peace of mind and a feeling of safety where they can see, kind of like Uber or Lyft, but for your child's journey going to and from school with dynamic and live ETAs. And then we also have a fleet management software that sits on a desktop, primarily in the transportation office, that lets these transportation leaders orchestrate their fleet to ensure every kid is getting to school safely and on time.
Keith, is there any pushback? And the reason I ask this, because it feels like it's a lot of potentially extra work for the driver who might have to, wonder, okay, on Tuesdays, little Billy gets dropped off here, but on Wednesdays, little Billy only gets dropped off there, and little Billy doesn't have a place to get dropped off on Thursday, and you have to multiply that by 100 kids on the bus. Is that adding too much pressure for, like you said, their main priority is to drive safely? I mean, is that adding extra elements for the drivers? What has the feedback from the drivers been?
So it adds a lot more complexity to student transportation, but these are expectations that communities have increasingly as of late. And so technology is just letting these transportation leaders meet the moment and meet the needs of their community. In a previous world where you're relying on paper route sheets that are static, it is nearly impossible to deliver that level of personalization in a way that is cost effective and empowers the driver to focus on what they do best. But this is the promise of technology, that we can bring the best of all worlds together and ensure that transportation is more reliable. And as we know, transportation reliability drives attendance, and as studies prove, attendance drives educational outcomes. So we're trying to bring all those pieces together.
Has this been utilized yet?
Yes. So we partner with school districts all across Illinois and 38 other states. So pretty much nationwide at this point.
Do you know where in Illinois you've been able to utilize this?
That is a great question. We've got a handful of partners. I would say, I don't know off the top of my head, but in a minute I'll get you a handful of folks if that's helpful.
No worries. We're just curious. So I'm sort of curious. I asked about the feedback from the drivers. What have you heard from parents?
Yes. So actually, districts that are not terribly far from where you are right now, we've got Riverdale School District, United Township High School District, Lawrence County, Saratoga School District. There's a handful of others. They're incredible partners, so I wanted to give them a shout out. But back to your question, which was more around how this is helpful to parents. Is that correct?
Just what the reaction from parents has been.
Yeah, it's kind of like how you led off this segment here, which is, hey, I was able to track my pizza delivery. Why can't I see where my child is going to and from school, especially given the concerns that I have around their safety when they're at school? And so, they love it. And, having that peace of mind, again, not only where the bus is, but especially that their exact child boarded and exited the bus with exact timestamps right in the palm of their hand has really been a game changer for parents across the country, especially those in communities where there's a lot of parents where both parents are working or they're not always there to greet their child in the afternoon when they get off the bus or even drop them off in the morning.
You mentioned off the top sort of the three main issues facing sort of school transportation these days. And I can see in a way that how technology would help with 2 and 3, that being safety and sort of the dynamic and the ever-changing routes. But number one you said was driver shortage. What is the solution there?
Yeah, so if you can make the role of a driver more attractive, then you can attract more drivers and retain them. So when they can now step into a school bus and have a Google Maps or Waze-like navigation experience, so much of their anxiety is now gone, and they can focus on what brought them to the industry and the role in the first place, which is building relationships with those students and getting them to school on time and safely. One of the biggest challenges that I saw firsthand after my driver Joy retired is all those drivers fumbling with these route sheets, and therefore a number of students missing a ride to school, parents being extremely concerned and upset, parent phone calls flooding the transportation office. So now that driver is fully supported in what they do best, again, we can attract and retain more of them. But number 2 is fleet management technology enables you to do more with less. You can merge routes with one click. You can consolidate stops. You can get a sense of how can we transport our kids to school today, even if 10% of our drivers don't show up? And all of this works in real time, dynamically, syncs right to those tablets. So no matter what happened overnight, those drivers are ready to go when they get there in the morning.
So while the driver is actually driving the bus, what is their relationship to the tablet? Is it kind of just off to the side and they're able to sort of glance at it and get the information they need? Are they more interactive with it? Like what is the tablet in relation to the driver?
It is right there on the dashboard next to them. There are visual and audio directions. So as they're approaching a stop, it'll tell them the students that should be getting on or off. It'll tell them if the stop is on the right or left side of the road. It'll tell them the address or a certain stop name, what we call a label for that stop. And it tells them everything that they need to know. And it also is intelligent enough to know where they are along their route without the driver ever having to really interact with it, because it knows it has already completed a stop and therefore will bring them to the next stop in the most efficient way.
Keith, what is the next step? What is the dream fix? Is there a problem that you're seeing within school bus transportation that you're still working on the solution for?
There is a narrative that it costs this country $30 billion a year to run student transportation. And what we see firsthand is that the transportation journey is an investment in education. It is not a $30 billion cost center. So much of a student's ability to learn happens on that bus and happens because of what that bus enables. And certainly for me, what the driver and their influence and impact can be on all those students that see them every single day. And speaking about the driver, they're one of the only adults in that school that are going to see that student year after year after year, whereas a teacher might only spend time with a student for 1 year. So we really believe that, what happens on that bus and the influence of that driver is truly a part of that educational experience. And we just want to build technology that recognizes and spotlights that work and enables those journeys to happen more every day.
All right. Keith Corso, the founder and CEO of Bus Right. Keith, we appreciate you taking the time, man. We'll talk with you soon.
You got it. Thanks for having me on the show. Have a great day.
Of course. 2:36. Let's take a live look, see what madness is going on over at Lala right now. Oh, the spin circle closed. Aw. That's a bummer. Well, I guess it's because they're between sets right now, but we'll keep checking in with them while we're here. We got that camera posted up on, like I said, that's one of the corner stages over at Millennium Park, not necessarily one of the two main stages on both the north and the south side of Millennium Park and Grant Park. So we'll keep you updated what's going on over there at Lala. I'd imagine the crowds are going to increase as more people are getting off work and headed over there. It's just the first couple of hours. Oh, look at that. Well done, Perry. Look at that. Got a beautiful little water taxi going on there. You can kind of see there's Lala in the distance. You can kind of see, well, not really, but you can see it's kind of happening out there. But it's a beautiful shot. It's a beautiful day. We got some gorgeous weather, maybe with some issues coming our way within the next couple of days. We're going to bring in Emily Walls within a couple of minutes to get the latest on what we can expect, what the people over at Lala can expect, and what you can expect. But for now, it is 2:37. It's Chicago Live. It's Thursday. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 40 on Chicago Live. Right now, at least for the next 4 days, I'd imagine, you are going to be everyone's best friend. The amount of information, the amount of text messages you are going, yes. Whether the news is good or not,
Yeah.
people are going to want to know.
I have already received several texts from friends that live out of the area. They're
Yep.
coming in from Michigan. They're like, I see rain. What
That's
are we
it.
dealing with?
That's it. How much
Yeah.
of your job is fielding text messages from friends and family about outdoor activities, about flights, about...
I think that's why people are my friend. Just to take advantage of my weather knowledge.
Perry, she's figured it out. She's got it figured out.
Yeah.
I mean, day one, you couldn't ask for a better day one.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
So temperatures, fortunately closer to the lakefront, like Grant Park,
Sure.
going to be running a little bit cooler there. So that's good for people that are, standing outside all day long. High temperatures inland,
Look
very
at that.
easily mid to
We
upper
even
80s.
cued the bird to fly
we
by.
did, stunning day.
Come on.
Yep, those are my boats out there.
Well
and,
done.
I wish I was out on one of those boats right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't that look nice?
We need a friend with a boat.
We do.
That's what I always tell Iris. I don't want the boat. I want the friend with the boat. So we can
And-
just show up
Yeah.
with a six-pack. That's what Mark Strauss says. Show up with the six-pack.
Yep.
And then you're good to
And
go.
see, I think, need to be on a boat, too, because I'm a meteorologist and I can help people plan their day.
So this sounds like a pitch to the bosses to invest.
A Fox 32
I was
boat.
going to say, well, because we've got the weather tracker. We've got
Yeah.
like the Fox 32, and that sucker.
We should be
that's
tracking the
something.
beach conditions.
I'm saying we need like the SS Fox 32.
Yeah.
Out there on the
I'm down.
water, and really, as an entertainment guy, movies are just better on the water. And,
That's
And
true.
it would be a great back. I'm telling you, if the bosses are watching.
We just came up with a good
This
idea.
sounds like a thing that's definitely
We
going to
need to
happen.
get our sales pitch together.
Done.
All right.
Sales to sales. That could be
There we
like that
go.
could be like slide one of our PowerPoint presentation.
I like it.
Do kids still use PowerPoint?
I
What do they call it?
I
Or do
think
they call it?
so.
They call it like decks now. I made a deck. That's what the cool kids say now.
I've never
All
heard
the
of
kids
that.
that are at Lala call it decks.
Okay. Yeah.
I made a
well,
deck.
Well, we still make
Yeah,
PowerPoints.
the ones that
around
are
here.
listening to, what are they listening to? Crying Tears? Bad what? Bad Nerves.
Is that a song?
That's the band that was just on.
Oh.
Come on, you're a big nerve head.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah. No, I'm not familiar with that one. Although I will say I heard Lord's going to be there.
Yeah, Lord, I've heard
I
of. Yes.
love
Yeah.
her music.
Lord's great.
Yeah.
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 Now, is Lord great enough for you to burrow your way through
No.
a sweaty crowd of teenagers
I
wearing
don't-
ironic basketball jerseys?
I really don't go many places that are crowded.
No.
I kind of stay away from it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But for those of you that enjoy a crowd and you're going to be out and about this
Be
weekend,
safe.
be safe.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, poncho, not a bad idea.
We just got an email from Casey Cronus, who's out there right now, and she said apparently the fashion of choice is the poncho.
Like ones that you wear for rain.
I don't know.
There's no way.
Either one that you wear for rain, or maybe they're like in a Clint Eastwood movie kind of thing.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh wait. Like it's 2001.
Yeah.
That's how cool Casey Cronus is that she can be like, oh, this is such 2001 fashion.
Yeah. Well,
So-
2001, I was not very cool.
No, I mean it's 2026, and I wasn't very cool.
All right, let's talk weather.
Yeah, let's talk about the thing that people are going to be starting tomorrow.
Yes.
What are we looking at?
So tomorrow midday into the afternoon, we're going to start to see showers moving on in.
Yeah.
Through the day, we are going to see the rain kind of picking up in intensity during the evening hours. So when a lot of people are going to be out there for the main acts, I
Sure.
think we could be dealing with some showers, some thunderstorms, heavy downpours going to be possible.
We be dealing with like potential evacuation worthy weather?
Well, I guess what I would have to ask is, do they evacuate simply for a thunderstorm,
thunderstorm,
or does
right.
it have to be severe?
Does it? Would there be lightning?
Yes.
I feel like isn't lightning normally the factor for evacuations?
So, that might be something that we're going to have to watch for then. Friday, mainly on Friday. So on Saturday, we'll have scattered showers around in the morning, the midday hours, but I'm not really anticipating too much in the way of lightning for
Okay.
Saturday. So that's going to be more of a Friday deal. But some spots, we're looking at over an inch of rain being possible. So that's going to turn
Wow.
that field out there
Wow.
into somewhat of a mud pit. And we've seen
Which
that
is
in
what I
years
keep
past.
talking about. That's
yeah.
it. Well, let me ask you this: based on, I don't know if there are sort of drought conditions right now. Does that is there any factor in that into if that ground's going to sort of soak up?
So, prior to Monday's storms, we went about 2.5, no, almost 3 weeks without measurable rainfall in the city. Yeah, it was a really long time. And typically you'd think, okay, we have the ground that's been very dry. It's going to drink up all of that water. not really the case. If anything, the ground gets harder and then things turn into runoff.
Wow.
So it goes to the low-lying areas. And, there's certainly quite a few low-lying areas around Grant Park.
Yeah.
We've seen this in years past, too, that, it turns into mud pit, a little messy out there.
Because there are there are areas out there, more so I'm thinking of like Grant Park, where there are like little hills up on the side where you can sort of kind of rest on. And so now I'm thinking of the water
that
running
water
down
is going to pool down
where
in the
everyone
center.
stands.
Yes.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So
that sounds like a place I want to be.
That could be what we're dealing with on Friday.
Okay.
I think by Saturday, when people are really kind of getting going on Saturday, mid-afternoon, late afternoon, we should be drying things out. So I think Saturday night, probably going to be fine by that point. And temps are going to be very comfortable, mid-70s for the highs. So I think by the time folks are going to be out there Saturday evening, Saturday night, just be prepared for those temps to be dropping down to about 70 degrees, if not into the upper 60s. And then on Sunday, we're partly cloudy, getting back to seeing some sun. We'll be in the upper 70s. Looks good. Do you like the heat? Do you like hot?
Yeah, I'm from Texas.
Good. All right. Well, it's coming back next week.
Like the hotter the better. Iris and I have been. I was telling you, we've been like beach bound lately. We've been sort of making the most of the hot weather. So now that I've learned how to appreciate a good beach, now I want it. Now I want to have it.
What took you so long?
I know.
Again,
I told you.
For how long?
I'm not cool.
You're working on it.
I'm working on it. I'm doing my best.
Better.
I know we're talking a lot about weather in regards to Lala.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are flying in for Lala. So travel conditions, the weather tomorrow, I'd imagine we're looking at potential delays.
We could be seeing some delays, especially if we're able to get some of those storms to move over or very near O'Hare, of course. But, the tricky thing about Friday is it's going to start off more on a scattered basis before it becomes more widespread.
Yeah.
And I would assume that for a lot of people that are coming into the city for Lollapalooza, you're probably already here, which is good.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, we could be seeing at least a few delays here or there, just because of the weather storms possible around O'Hare tomorrow.
I don't know what it is, and I'm sure I'm drawing significance that doesn't exist, but it just feels like it rains around Lala.
It does.
I feel like that's just kind of a part of it.
Well, and this time of the year too, when it's warm, you oftentimes are going to have thunderstorms in the mix. Thunderstorms are always heavy rain producers.
Yeah.
So, but I think everybody that's out there, they don't care.
They're having. They're like, can we take the shot?
Yeah, they're
Let's
having
see.
a good time.
I don't know if we can see them. Look at them.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I don't think they care. I mean, they're out there. They're having a good time.
On our website earlier today, we had a video that was posted. It was a hyperlapse of people running in, and it looks like there's a lot of people out and about, ready to go.
I mean, did you see the people that were sprinting?
Yeah.
I was trying to find the video to pull it up. The people that were sprinting to get first for.
Yeah, be right next to the stage.
But is it for like the headliner tonight?
Probably. They're probably trying to just get close to the stage for who's the headliner tonight?
Is it Lord tonight?
Oh, it is Lord tonight.
It is Lord tonight?
Okay.
Okay, all right. I mean, that'd be a good, you're going to get out there.
Yep.
So
darn it, I missed my chance.
There's still time. It's 2:48.
Yeah.
You got time. Any long-term prospects of any kind of severe weather outside of this weekend?
Not really. I think Friday and Saturday are going to be our best chance of seeing showers, thunderstorms, really for the next week to week and a half. We're going to be dry all through next week. The latest drought monitor that came out this morning, we're not seeing a ton of change from last week. Of course, we picked up a lot of rain on Monday, which, is helping us out there, but there's still abnormally dry conditions across portions of the north, the northwest. And I think we could potentially be seeing that getting a little bit worse here next week and beyond, because there's not a lot of rain chances on the horizon.
And I don't mean to sound like a dad when a storm comes through and the dad says like, oh, we needed that.
Yeah,
but
we needed that rain.
But and I know it's gonna rain over Lala, and I'm trying to find a silver lining there. But it is rain that we need, I guess.
It is rain that we need. Yes, we'll take it. And people are probably hearing me say that too, and they're like, we just had a ton of rain on Monday. But a lot of that did end up turning into runoff because we got so much all at once. So an all-day kind of soaking rain, like what we're going to see for the second half of the day on Friday, then it's actually a good thing.
So what I'm thinking is that you get out there Friday night or midday Saturday, and when it starts to rain, you just hold up a sign that says, it's cool, guys, we needed this.
Yes.
And everyone will be totally fine with it then.
I feel like people would be throwing their empty drink cans and stuff at me.
No, it'll go over very well.
I'll let you know how that goes.
How's it being back? I know we're a couple of weeks back.
It's good to be in a routine again. When you're on maternity leave, everything is just kind of a time warp.
Sure.
All the days they run together. They're all the same. 3 a.m. feels like 3 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a little bit more of a routine. It took about a week though to really figure out my routine, figure
Because
out
it is
how to
a structure.
well, and how to fit work into my day
Yeah.
again, you
Yeah.
know, because you already feel like you don't have time for anything. You don't have time to make your own lunch or,
Yeah.
you know. So it's been a lot of changing my routine day by day, trying to figure it out.
Well, it's funny you say that. My schedule changed recently, and now so much of my job is sort of like time markers, where I know it's like, okay, well, it's 10:35, so I need to be warming
Yeah.
up my lunch by now.
Yeah.
You know, and if I'm past that point,
Yep.
then I'm like, oh, I'm running late.
Well, and with a baby, it just changes every single day. It's based on essentially when they wake up, and that's going to determine the rest of your day. Because then you're on a 2-hour feeding loop. You know?
I'm almost at the point of figuring that out. So
Yeah.
I'm getting there. You've done Lala in the past, though, right? I know we're joking.
No,
about
I've
it.
never been.
How have you never been to Lala?
I'm not fun. That's why.
Look, Perry is disgusted.
Well,
Our
I
producer
think-
Perry behind the scenes is just
So
she's not mad, she's just disappointed.
I think by the time that I moved to Chicago, though, I already had a kid at home, and I'm lame now. You know, I got here too late.
Wait, what? Kids are free.
Are they really? Wow.
That's
Wow.
there's
See,
there's the sell.
I mean, I guess now I have to consider it.
See? That's it.
Producer Perry back there.
Yeah, I would
she's
say
really,
yeah, Perry is on. Perry, how do you know kids are free? What children are you bringing to Lollapalooza? Her kids would pretend to be 12 years old. How old were they when they did this? They were 14. Okay, all right. So as long as it's not like 26-year-olds
Yeah.
attempting to be.
We need to get her a mic. Just
Oh,
bring
we
her in.
really do need to like
Yeah.
producer Perry should be a character
Yes,
on the show.
I agree.
I'm
Yeah.
loving this. All right. Well, rain potential, delay potential,
Yep.
but you know what? Just have fun.
Yeah,
be safe.
it's summer. It's
you know?
going to be nice no matter what. Temps are nice. It's not like we're dealing with 60s for highs or
Yeah.
anything. So.
And it'll be hopefully the Saturday stuff cleared out midday.
I think probably closer to 2 p.m., 3 p.m. It could be a
Okay.
little bit later.
Okay.
But
widespread all around.
just scattered on Saturday,
Okay.
more widespread the second half of the day, Friday into
Got
Friday
it.
night.
That's going to be the day
Yeah.
to keep an eye on.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, you're not here tomorrow for us to talk about it with.
No, you'll have Mark
We'll
tomorrow.
have Marky Mark and the
Yeah.
Funky Bunch.
He's the
All right,
best.
Emily Walls, we appreciate you.
Thank
you
you.
so much. All right, guys, it is 2:53. Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. All right, it is 2:55, wrapping up our second hour of Chicago Live. Really quick, let's take one more live look over at Lala, see what they got going on over there. You see the crowd growing, which means that another band must be taking the stage in just a couple of minutes. But I'd imagine as more and more people are getting off work and heading toward day one of Lollapalooza, of course, a 4-day festival, that those crowds are going to grow every single time that we check in on that. But we caught up with them a little bit earlier in the show, and the crowd was they were bumping. They had a whole circle where they were running around, and it was a whole thing. We're gonna be joined by Casey Cronus in just a couple of minutes. Casey was sent out there a little bit earlier today, had the chance to check things out and see what's going on, and she's going to join us live. She's been emailing us different things that she's seen while she is out there, and one of them is some of the 2026 Lala fashion choices, which Casey Cronus has already kept us updated on what's going on. So we're going to keep you updated on that. Let me check in. Perry, who are we checking in with? With Kat? Okay, Kat, we're going to check in with you to find out what's going on with the teachers union vote. Kat, are you with us?
Hi, I'm here.
Fantastic. Kat, thank you for joining us. Can you let us know what's going on with the teachers union vote?
Yes, we were just at the Board of Education. They're actually on a recess right now, and what we saw is a real opportunity. CPS proposed a draft a couple weeks ago of their budget. It was insufficient. It would have meant serious harm to our schools. They took a step in the right direction, but we see that the draft that they presented today is actually still has a lot of issues. It's kind of a disaster. It means that there are schools. I personally talked to somebody who has a school where somebody got laid off, and that means that at that grade level, there are 45 kids in that grade level who are supposed to be in one classroom. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't work for our students. And so what we're seeing is that there's an opportunity for them to make a change, and that's what we're hoping for today.
So what is the timeline that we're looking at right now?
So they have this meeting today. They can take a vote today. They can vote yes on this budget and codify these layoffs, codify that students will lose their sports programming, lose their arts programming, be in overcrowded classrooms, which is something that the city used to do. We did that when I was a kid. It didn't work. We can't go back to it. Or they can vote no on this budget, give themselves a little runway to work with our partners. What I saw at the Board of Education meeting is elected officials from the city level, the county, and the state who all came to say, look, we're ready to roll up our sleeves and do the work with you. We know that we've budgeted for schools, the position that we have put you in is not a good position, but we're ready to do the work if you're ready to do the work with us. And so we have an opportunity right now for Governor Pritzker to call a special session. I was looking, actually, he just had a press conference this week where he said that the extraordinary educators show up every day determined to help every child be the best they can be. And I think it's wonderful that he thinks that we're extraordinary and he sees the work that we do. But we also need him to be extraordinary for our schools, and he needs to call a special session for our students. We see that legislators are ready to work. We're looking for our board and for CPS to be ready to work, but all of these levels need to work together. If he could call a special session to fully fund schools right now. The Speaker of the House was actually at CTU yesterday, and he personally said he fully supports more revenue for CPS schools. He said that layoffs should not be happening. He is strongly committed to additional supplemental funding for CPS. Like, we have players who are ready to go. And so what this board needs to do is either amend the budget based on the commitments that these elected officials have made, or they need to vote no and give themselves a little runway to work with legislators on this. Those are the options on the table right now.
What does this mean for the beginning of the school year? I know a lot of teachers are starting to get ready to head back in a couple of weeks. So how might it affect that?
The beginning of the school year, unfortunately, is back in this kind of, game that we unfortunately play every year in CPS. I was talking to a teacher assistant today who received his layoff notice, as others did a week ago. He also got a layoff notice last school year. And so it's this like constant cycle of destabilization, of chaos that is introduced into the beginning of the school year. And any educator will tell you that the beginning of the school year is the time where you set expectations and you really set your routines. And so this kind of chaos is not good for students. It's not good for families. It's not good for schools. And we know that if we do the work, we can actually set ourselves up to be in a position where we're not moving folks around later, where we don't have students in a classroom with 45 students, and then all of a sudden we actually get the funding that we need. And so now they're in a different classroom. We need to do that from the beginning. We need to make a choice from the beginning so that we actually give ourselves the best chance to be successful.
Kat, the district is saying that it might not be able to make payroll in September if the budget does not pass. What does CTU say about that?
The district is saying that we either need to accept 2,000 layoffs. 2,400 is actually the most recent number that I've gotten. 2,400 layoffs throughout our district, which eliminate the programs that students need, which remove the supports that they need in their classrooms, which remove the relationships that people have built, or we're not getting paid in September. That is a terrible choice to put somebody in between. That's a terrible choice to say, look, I can cut off your left hand or I can cut off your right hand. That's insane. We're saying that that's the wrong question. If we have all of these commitments from every level of government, other than the governor, that they're ready to work with us and that this is not acceptable, the Speaker of the House said that layoffs should not be happening. I don't know that I've heard a stronger commitment of people ready to fight for our students. And so we need CPS to get in that game. We need them to stop saying, look, we're going to back you into a corner and you need to pick who to lose. And we need them to actually be ready to fight for all of our students, to not leave anybody behind.
What is the message that CTU is sending to its teachers, that you're trying to send to your fellow teachers?
I've been talking to teachers all summer. My siblings in the union have also been talking to other teachers all summer, paraprofessionals, clerks, folks all over school buildings. And what we're saying is, enough. The time has come. The Illinois General Assembly already did the math. They know exactly how much they owe us. They gave themselves a deadline of 2027. It is August 2026. That is around the corner. And so what we've seen actually is that when we work collectively, when we use our voice, and this is the conversation we're having with other members, when we move together, we can make change. We saw that the first draft of this budget not only included these layoffs, but it also included 5 furlough days for all CPS employees. We went to those budget hearings, we talked to each other, we talked to our board members, we talked to CPS, we gave public comment about what the impact of those furlough days and those layoffs would be. And we saw that furloughs were taken off the table. So the message to other CTU members, the message to parents and students and community members, to everybody who works in our school buildings, is that change is possible. It's actually already happening, and we have to stand together and we can continue to make more change.
Kat, I'm not trying to bring the conversation down at all, but if CTU does not get the answer that they want, what does that mean?
Look, we're ready to fight for our kids. And so if we don't get the answer that we want, that's actually not about what we want or what we prefer. That means that they are going to have cuts in classrooms. That means that kids are going to potentially be back in the situation we were back in the 2010s, where you had classrooms that had more desks than students, where you had classrooms where the teacher could not reach every child, where they didn't have enough books for everybody. We've been there before. It didn't work. So if we don't get the answer that we want, what that actually means is that we're actively taking things away from students. We're actively taking things away from families. Maybe you have families who have been at a school. Maybe they have 3 kids that have gone to the same school, and they're expecting that same 5th grade teacher that the older siblings had. And now they're not going to have that person. Now the younger sibling is going to have a completely different experience than the older siblings. What we're saying is that this vote takes from children. It balances the budget on the backs of the people who need it the most. And so CPS and the board need to decide, are you standing with families or not? That's the choice.
Kat Zamarone, we appreciate you. Thank you for jumping in and talking with us about this very important issue. We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for talking about this.
Of course. All right, guys, 3:05. Are we jumping over to Casey or are we taking a quick break? Let's see. Casey Cronus, are you with us? We've been talking about you for the last hour.
Jake, I'm here.
There she is.
We made it through the crowds at Lala.
Well, I checked in with you earlier because I didn't want to promise something that we weren't able to deliver. Because at first I thought she's going to go live from inside Lollapalooza. You corrected me. You said no, we're not going. We're going live from inside the car. Which you know what? Just as good. I'm glad you got the AC. But you were out there.
Yes, so I so wish we could take our viewers inside and go live. The team at Lala graciously let us in to get some video earlier today, but there are tight time frames that we have to stick to. So we were in and we were out. Now we are prepping for our story at 4 and 5. It's going to be a mashup, Jake. We are talking to festival who are just so happy and so excited to be here for Lollapalooza, but we're also touching on some of the more serious aspects of this festival, and that is how to stay safe, how to stay hydrated in this heat, and also something we need to address, but how to spot an overdose, because at any festival, things are passed around. You've got a lot of teens here, some who maybe cave to that peer pressure. So we did speak to a Recovery Centers of America official to talk a little bit about that. But of course, it is a fun weekend here in Chicago too, so we don't want to overlook that aspect. So it's going to be a little bit of a mashup of all of those things.
What are you, whenever you bring up, you go out to Lala, and I'm sure there are going to be plenty of people that want to talk about the fun aspects, right? They want to talk about the music, they want to talk about the fashion, they want to talk about whatever. But when you bring up those more serious topics, when you talk about safety, when you talk about how to deal with potential overdoses, what sort of reaction do you get from people when you try to have those conversations?
Everyone that we talked to, they said, we've got our Camelbacks, we've got our sunscreen. They seemed pretty well prepared for what the festival has in store for them. There is a Narcan booth that will be set up here at Lala. And of course, there are EMTs and emergency personnel. This place is swamped with police officers keeping an eye on everything. And I think most festival goers are aware, right? And if anyone's partaking in anything they shouldn't be, they're not telling us, Jake.
I can't imagine that was going to be coming up in conversation. I'd love to know why you're out there. Listen, I know it's day one. I know we're only a couple of hours into day one, so it's hard to kind of put your finger on the pulse of what the vibe is out there. But while you're out there, what did you see? What do you feel like people were kind of ready for a good 4-day festival?
Absolutely. People are pumped and ready to go. I sent an email to the newsroom about an hour ago. Jim, one of our EPs, had asked, I wonder what the fashion trends are this year. Well, let me tell you, it is macrame ponchos.
What does that mean? What is a macrame poncho?
Okay, macrame is like a knitted fabric. It's kind of like a looser knit.
Like they're in like an old Clint Eastwood Western, like they're in like Good and Bad and the Ugly.
Yeah, think of like a like a swimsuit cover up that's kind of like light and airy. It's like a lighter knit material that's got like holes in it.
Oh wait, that's that's not what Clint Eastwood wore.
So here's the thing. I should have kept mine from 1st and 2nd grade because I would have fit right in, and they're probably the same size as what these festival goers are wearing, who are adults.
So there's so many thoughts. Wait, is everyone wearing these macrame? I'm learning so much right now. And Perry, thank you for bringing that up because that is not what I was picturing in my mind. But it is interesting to kind of, I guess, every year at Lala is like a different fashion trend.
Fashion repeats itself. These were so popular in the early 2000s, and what can I say? I guess that we set the trend back then. A lot of people are wearing them. I thought, I am really spotting not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but I kept spotting them. So I think, every year, every festival has, somehow everyone seems to kind of get on the same page, right? You have to wonder, is there like a massive group chat? How is everyone dressing so similarly? There's another one. Yep. Love it. Thank you, Perry.
Well done to our producer, Perry, for pulling that out. Casey, I got to ask.
Jake,
yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, you'll hear from them this afternoon, but I do want to share a story about 3 people who were coming here from Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. And they drove in last night. An hour into the drive, one of them turns to the other and says, "We do have the wristbands, right?"
Oh, no.
And he said it was silent in the car. They turned around. They drove back an hour. Thankfully, they hadn't gotten more than an hour in.
But still,
which
that's 2 hours added to their drive.
Could have been worse. Thankfully, he said something before they made it. So they went back and they ended up getting in just after midnight last night. But I thought, that is such a bummer. They were really good sports about it, though. And they are ready to go today.
Okay, well, this serves as a great reminder for anyone watching. The wristbands are important if you want to get in. Listen, Casey, we just had Emily on the show who said that weather could very much be a factor tomorrow night into Saturday. And listen, if you've been out to Lala before and you've seen the effects of it raining on a Friday or Saturday, usually the impact is the whole thing just kind of turns into one big giant mud pit. Has anyone been made aware of, did anyone seem aware or care at all about the fact that weather could be heading our way?
So I brought this up to the officials at Lala. They are very optimistic that things will go smoothly tomorrow. You may remember in the past, though, they've had to evacuate the grounds, not for rain, but if there's lightning, they have to. It's just not safe. And there's so much metal and so much equipment that they just cannot risk it. So, of course, that's always a possibility. Officials are very optimistic that won't happen. They're hoping for just some rain. As you mentioned, it does really turn into a mud pit, and it costs the city hundreds of thousands of dollars when this does happen to resod Grant Park. So we will certainly be keeping an eye on that tomorrow. But for today, people are just excited. They really did get a gorgeous day one for the start of this festival.
You mentioned, in years past we've seen evacuations. Is lightning the factor to determine whether or not they're going to evacuate? Because I know, if it's raining, they can handle rain, but is lightning sort of that the thing that determines whether or not they're going to evacuate or not?
That's right. It is the lightning, and it has to be so many miles away. So even if it's not immediately upon us, if it's so many miles away, they've got to evacuate, and they do this in conjunction with the Office of Emergency Management and police. And, the nice thing, too, is that Lala goers should be getting updates through either their text that they signed up for the wristbands or through the Lala app. And then also the city is urging people to download the OEMC app and sign up for those alerts just to be, cover all the bases, be aware. You'll get weather alerts through OEMC's app as well. So for the dissemination of that information is pretty, it typically gets around quickly to people and they're able to move people in and out. Fingers crossed that they don't have to do that this weekend, but of course it always is a possibility.
Casey, those all sound like really good and valuable apps, but I don't know about you. I think they should download the Fox 32 weather app.
I agree. That too. Absolutely.
See?
Add that.
Guys, I got you on the team. Really quick, can we give a shout out? Who's your faux talk today?
Today I'm with Rob. He's here. Do you want to say hi?
Hey!
And let me tell you, we only had a limited time. I mentioned that at the top. So we were ushered in. We have to go in, pretty far south to get into the grounds when we cover Lala for the media. And so by the time we got near any stages, we had like 15 minutes. And Rob was like multitasking with the big camera, with his GoPro, running around, covering all our bases. So you'll see his footage coming up here at 4 and 5.
Rob is one of the all-time greats. I'm a massive fan. The only thing he has better than his talent as a photographer is that amazing beard. Put it back on camera. Let's see. Look at him. Look at him. Like a young George Clooney.
Ooh.
You like that? All right, Casey Cronus, do me a favor. Go get your poncho. Get ready to go and enjoy the rest of the day. We'll see you coming up on Fox 32 News at 4 o'clock.
Okay, Jake. Thanks. Always great to chat.
See you later. Bye, Rob.
Bye.
All right, guys, 3:15 Chicago Live rolls on. Can we take a live look at Lala, see what they got going on? Is anyone playing? Oh, it's the ponchos. For the love of God, go to break. We'll be right back. No, I don't want to see that anymore. Go to break. Welcome back, 3:18 on Chicago Live. We're going to dip in real quick to a data center protest out of Michigan. Let's listen in.
And even when their own representatives failed them and betrayed them, they were still able to use other avenues, particularly in the courts, to protect their communities. I want you to take a second and actually look around you. Look at how beautiful and green this area is. And I say this because what we are hearing from other community members is that communities like this one, where they were completely blindsided by these kinds of projects, are now living the consequences of them. We're hearing from farmers that are sharing that their livestock are losing significant weight, that when they do give birth, their own young are actually being born stillborn, that their own crops are now wilting under the noise of these data centers that are going on all day and all night for 24 hours. This is not your typical small data center that can fit in a neighborhood. It doesn't obstruct everyday life. These things are thousands of acres long. And the question is, why? Why do we need them? And unfortunately, what we're hearing from corporate propaganda is, well, if you want to use your email, if you want to use your social media, you're going to have to deal with this. But that's objectively not true. These data centers are being built for nothing more than corporate greed because they made a bet on AI that wants to be able to steal our skills without compensating us for our skills. So to sum it all up, they want to take over our communities. They want to mess with our farmland. They want to be able to create long-term negative impacts. And they want to be able to take away jobs that a lot of us can barely get by because they don't pay enough. How is that acceptable? And so I'm incredibly honored and grateful to see this coalition growing all over the country that is saying we need transparency, we need guardrails, and in the meantime, you do not get to permanently deface our state before we can put in those guardrails. So thank you all for being here.
I can't do the bending down thing. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Brabs. I live a few miles that way from the data center, and I have been fighting it with every moment that I have to spare since November. And I have a hard time finding words describing all the things I've learned and all the horrors that we know come with these at this point. And I think you covered so well the feeling of not being listened to and not being heard. And if and when that happens, it's often too late. So what I would like to do is take a moment to honor the people here, the people coming together across differences, and the people fighting, because that gets me up every morning. Late last night, I got a call in tears from a really good friend who's a Republican elsewhere in Michigan fighting one of these because she had a hit piece put out on her. They didn't even talk to her about this thing. They clearly just talked to their local officials, said a bunch of stuff that wasn't true. It hadn't happened to her before. And she called me a liberal, right? And that's because we don't care. It's just interesting that many people seem to not take that seriously. And that's the most true thing that everyone can count on will matter in the end, is when we come together, we are neighbors, we do not escalate, we connect. And also, politicians that tell the truth, Abdul has a track record of integrity. There is behavior and words that track through time that he is who he is and he does what he says. Period. So integrity is pretty important. Oh, actually, part of my business used to involve integrity. I'm not even joking. So that matters to me, but it's never, ever mattered to me more than this moment, because we do have laws. We do have guardrails. We do not have that many idiots. We don't need more bots. We don't need more artificial intelligence hyperscale data centers at the speed of light, much like whack-a-mole. We don't need more of that to be done badly. And that's exactly what's happening right now. But the best thing to me is the people I've met around this area, around the state, around the nation at this point, because none of us are okay with this. And there's so much research, data-driven, relevant data that's coming out about the impacts of these, such as tonal noise, which is what you were referring to. That's what's hurting animals and hurting births and hurting people it's causing heart issues, it's causing psychological issues, learning disabilities. Like, it's really, it's just kind of unheard of. This is a new type of monstrosity for Michigan. It's a new type of monstrosity wherever it begins in whatever state. And you have local people who didn't ask to be experts that literally have to become a pretend expert overnight almost. And then now we're best friends. So.
All right, that was live out of Michigan, a data center protest. We're going to shift gears for a moment. The CTA and Cook County State's Attorney's Office launching a new campaign aimed at deterring violence on public transit. More than 7,000 signs will be placed on buses and trains, warning that violent crimes on the CTA will be prosecuted and that prosecutors will face potential detention in those cases. We're going to bring in Penny McCoach, president of ATU 308 Officers. Penny, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Tell us where the idea for this came from originally.
So, labor, we met with the state's attorney. We told the state attorney our concerns about what was going on with the riding public as well as our workers, and we let her know that the importance of having something done in order for the transit system to be safe for the riding public and the employees that's moving these people back and forth in Chicago.
You know, I think one of the major pushbacks maybe that this sort of campaign is facing is the argument that people say if someone's going to commit a crime on public transit, that a sign isn't going to deter them. If they're in the middle of committing a crime, that they see a sign and it's not going to make them stop. To that pushback, what would you say?
Well, I would say first to that, yes, absolutely. A sign is not going to stop someone from doing what they have their intentions is to do, but it is an awareness, and that has not been the case on the transit system, and the policies has not been enforced, and that is what we're asking for, as far as the union and labor, to enforce what's there. You can't say that you didn't know now. it's there in black and white, and now you are aware. So now the enforcement comes with that, and that is what we're asking for, enforcement.
So that's what I was going to ask. That leads to my next question. So this is one of several steps that you guys are looking at. And so what, in addition to, you talk about enforcement, in addition to these signs, what else needs to happen to really make a dent in violence on transit?
So we have done some things as far as labor. In June, we passed a bill down in our state legislation that was for $1.7 billion. And in that bill, it had provisions in there where Cook County sheriffs and social service agencies and resources would be part of that bill as far as the legislation. And so that is what we're asking to be enforced, to make sure that that happens. And since then, we have had the Cook County sheriffs on our system, and they have been enforcing the policies, and it has gotten better, but we can do a lot more. And that is what, it's not always about detaining and law enforcement. We need other type of social service references for those that need assistance. So, absolutely.
Penny, what are you hearing from CTA employees in regards to the violence that's happening?
Well, I can say that I represent 2,700 members that work for CTA. And they are, not confident that their safety is in, taken care of when they come and go to work. We just lost a member to gun violence about 3 weeks ago that was at work and didn't return back home to his family when he came to work. So that just made hyenas to the employees that they're not safe. They come to work, they're not protected. They don't have anything in place that prevent certain issues to go on, and they're concerned about that. They're concerned.
Penny, you mentioned one of the benefits of having the signs out there. You said, listen, it's not necessarily going to stop someone in the middle of attacking someone, but that they can't say that they didn't know. They can't say that they didn't realize that there would be consequences. Is that something that was happening? Was that a defense that some of these perpetrators were trying to put forward, and that they just didn't know that they couldn't do these things?
Absolutely. That was part of their defense, that they wasn't aware that they're not supposed to be, that they can't, there's a violation if they smoke on the system, or if certain things will happen. And then what was happening is that once they get to the criminal part of it, or the court system, it was not being, to us that's out here, not taken seriously, because that same individual that assaulted a passenger or assaulted an employee, they arrested him, and then that person was back on the property the next day. So now that person is out there with that employee that gave all the information, and now that employee is now a target again, or one of our regular riders that ride on a regular back and forth to work. They're seen as a target. So it was not being enforced, and that's what we're asking for, that it be enforced, that whatever the crime is, that it be forced to the magnitude that it needs to be enforced to.
So we're now saying that because these signs are out there, if someone is arrested for something like that argument goes away. It's no longer going to be able to get them back onto the streets.
Absolutely. With that being out there, then there's no excuse that you did not know. It's right there in your face. You knew. So that excuse is out the window.
And Penny, what is the timeline on these 7,000 signs?
So right now they're working on, they have the signs, and we've been talking to the state's attorney office, and we're going to work in collaboration and helping them get the signs out. We haven't come up with a date yet, but we are working on it, and it's going to be shortly. They're going to be out on the property.
Okay. Penny McCoach, President ATU 308 Officers. Penny, thank you for taking the time. We really do appreciate you, and this was a great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right, guys, 3:30,
All right,
Chicago
bye-bye.
Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Welcome back, 3:32 on Chicago Live. You know, there's that old expression, if you love what you do, you won't work a day in your life. You know, for graduates, they've always been told, you know, you got to find your passion. You get out there, you got to find what you love, and you got to figure out a way to monetize it. You got to figure out a way to do that. And so we're going to talk with someone who has a new book called Find Your X Factor, with lessons from his own career journey to help people identify their strengths and their interests that can make their work more fulfilling. We're going to talk with Paul Comfort. Paul, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate you.
Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Of course. That old expression, it's an old cliche. We've all heard it a million times. You love what you do. You never work a day in your life. Is that something you agree with?
Yeah, you know, it is. It's part of the equation, Jake. So nothing wrong with hearing, you know, follow your dreams, follow your passions. But again, that's one half of it, right? So if you're 4'11" and you're passionate and you want to be the center of the Chicago Bulls, it doesn't matter how passionate you are about it. It's not going to happen. So you got to find the other part of your X factor, which is your abilities. So that's what the book is about. It's about how to find really what is your X factor, the true intersection of your interests and abilities.
Is that getting harder these days, as you know, in the world of like influencers and every kid, you know, is flipping through Instagram and they go, well, that person, you know, travels for a living and gets to go visit really cool restaurants around the world. I want to do that. Well, yeah, sure. A lot of people want to do that. So how has technology and social media made finding someone's X factor and capitalizing on it more difficult?
Yeah, you know, it reminds me, you got a great art museum here in Chicago I love to visit. Picasso is there, and he had a great quote, which you said earlier, you kind of alluded to, which is the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. Each of us are unique, just as unique as our thumbprint. And so trying to follow someone else's vision, someone else's path in their life is ultimately probably going to lead to you not being fulfilled and maybe not being successful, right? You don't want to climb the ladder of success your whole life only to find out at the end it was leaning against the wrong wall. So you have your own individual X factor. And it doesn't matter what Beyonce is doing or some other influencer on there on the internet. You need to find your individual purpose. That's where you can do what you said earlier, not work a day in your life, where it is where your interests and abilities intersect. That's the sweet spot. That's where you can be self-actualized, like Maslow talked about being, you know, right at the top of your hierarchy of needs. So not comparing yourself to others, not worrying about what others are doing, but focusing on what you can do and what you're passionate about. That's really your key to success. And
that's such an interesting point because, like you said, you can love something all day long, but if you can't do it, it doesn't matter. If you can't play football, it doesn't matter if you want to be a football player, you can't do it. So how does someone go about finding then what that skill is? If someone says, listen, I love basketball and I do want to be work for the Chicago Bulls, but I am 4'11", cool, great, that's awesome. We got to move on to something else. So what is that journey of moving on to maybe discovering an X factor that maybe someone doesn't even realize that they possess?
That's good, Jake. Yeah, man. So that's what the book is all about. Find Your X Factor, coming out on August 11th. You can get it everywhere. Barnes & Noble, pre-order it now. It talks about how to go through the exercise of analyzing those two axes, right? Your interests, kind of looking back at your life, finding that golden thread that you were leaning into in all your jobs and all the things that you've had to do in your life. What is it that makes time stand still for you? It could be you're mechanical. You're out in the garage, you're working for a while on something, and then a member of your family comes out and says it's time for dinner, and you look at your watch and you've been out there 5 hours. Like, I can't believe, that much time has gone by. I really love what I'm doing. So you find those little clues along the path. That's your interest, right? And then what have other people told you? What have you been recognized for that you're skilled at? I recently talked to a young lady, Jessica, at a graduation event, and she said, Mr. Paul, I have found my perfect job. I was kind of typecast, I felt like, in my last job, where I was good at administrative skills, I was good at spreadsheets, but I wanted to do more with that. I wanted to lead people, and then I finally was able to find a job to be a project manager where I could keep using what I was good at, which was the spreadsheets and the administrative skills, but I got to do what I really loved, what I wanted to do, which is lead people. So now as a project manager, I sign people out to jobs in the field, and I keep track of what they're doing through my spreadsheets. That is the way to look back and see, what are my interests, what are my abilities, where can they intersect? I feel great.
Paul, I want to talk about the two potential audiences for this book. I got a kid on the way, and as someone who gets to love what he does every single day of his life, all I want more than anything for my kid is for the kid to find something and love it as much as I love this job. So what is the difference between how a parent might read this book versus how a kid might read this book?
Yeah, that's really good, Jake. So, we want our children to achieve their highest and best. I have 6 children and 10 grandchildren, now just had 2 twin boys, now I got 12. And so I want them to achieve their highest and best. But I cannot confuse that with thinking I want them to follow in my footsteps. Again, they are as unique as I am with their fingerprint. I want to, as a parent, and what I encourage other parents to do, is to look at their children, analyze what they've got going on. One of my grandkids, Emmett, I've noticed it since he was a little kid, 4 years old maybe. He's very mechanical. He's in our living room, looking at the lamp at 4 years old, trying to figure out how it works. I told his dad, my son, Emmett's going to be an engineer of some type. He's mechanical, he's trying to figure things out. So as a parent, I think we can analyze what those skill sets are that our children are leaning into, right? And what they're exhibiting, and then also what their interests are. Not forcing kids to always do something that they are miserable at and don't love. Maybe you let them kind of experience some of themselves, a little bit of everything, give them a large field of experiences, and then see where they lean. Versus as an individual, you're looking at your own life, right? But as a parent, we want our children to be successful. I think the key lesson here is, don't make them just follow in dad's or mom's footprints. Let them find their own path, but give them guidance and encouragement along the way.
Well, it's funny you talk about sort of being successful, and this is a true story. I remember this. Whenever I was in college and my buddies would ask, everyone was trying to figure out what we were going to do. I always said, I'm going to be a reporter. I want to be on the news. I want to be a news anchor. And they'd say, well, we're going to choose something that's going to make way more money than you're going to make. And I was like, cool, you do, dude. But here's what I can tell you is that we're all nearing 40. And of all of us, there's the guys that went and chased a ton of money, and then there's me doing this job. And I am infinitely more happy and more fulfilled creatively, professionally, than those guys are. I hear them complain about their money-making jobs a lot. So for people that just say, hey, forget my X factor, forget my abilities, forget my interest, I just want to make money. Listen, but money, do what you want to with it. But it feels like a potentially dangerous path to take.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. I had that happen in my life. I had a job. There's a chapter in my book called When You Hate Your Job. And I had a job where I felt like I had golden handcuffs. I was making more money than I ever made in my life. I had kids in college, all that, the mortgage. And so I did what I said I would never do, which is take a job just for money, except it's a little bit different. I didn't want to leave this job. I had other offers to become CEO of this company and that company, but it was $50,000 less. And I was like, I can't afford to take the leap. Look, man, I was miserable in my job, but I was making great money. If that's where you're at, I would tell you that life is too short to spend doing jobs that you hate, even though you might be good at it. So the key is not to blow up your life, not to quit, not to jump out of the frying pan into the fire, but instead start leaning into the areas where you do have that interest. For me at that job, I love being in front of people and talking and communicating with people, not sitting in an office doing administrative work. And so I volunteered to do the new employee orientation on Monday mornings. It was a way to get me out of the office in front of people, talking to them about, what we were doing there, and it fulfilled me. And so suddenly my favorite day of the week was Mondays, of all things, right? Because I was finally doing a job that I was making good money at, but leaning into something where I had passion about. That's the key. That's how you follow your hidden treasure map to purpose. You just lean into what you want to do, and believe me, then you'll start seeing opportunities arise. That other job that really fulfills you and still meets your needs financially may be just around the corner, but you don't need to jump out of your current job to get it. Start leaning into your interests and abilities at your current work and look for that next opportunity.
Paul, I'm going to ask you a big question. What would the Paul of today tell 18-year-old Paul? What piece of advice would you give yourself back then?
Well, it's funny, man. When I got out of college, I got offered a couple really interesting jobs, and one of them was to be a speechwriter for our governor. Wow. But I was like, I don't want to be behind the typewriter typing. Back then, used typewriters. I want to be out doing things. I was running for office when I was, 21 years old, and so I would tell myself, you don't start at the end. You start at the beginning, and you get your foot in the door at an organization, and then you navigate. And so I think that's I've seen it in my kids and other kids too. They don't want to start at the beginning, right? Do not despise the day of small beginnings is a great quote. And I would encourage myself to do that, to not despise the day of small beginnings and get in the direction you're going. Remember, alignment doesn't require a leap. It requires a direction. So you got to get moving in the right direction.
I love this. I'm going to ask, what would you say your kids and grandkids would say about having you as a dad and a grandpa? Because these are all great pieces of advice to read in a book or to hear from someone on television. But I'm pretty sure if my dad were constantly coming at me with all these great quotes, I'd be like, oh my God, Dad, yes, I get it. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think, I'm very close with all my kids and grandkids. We're with them all the time. We just all went to Myrtle Beach together for a week-long vacation in one big house, all 20 of us. And I think what they would say was they knew that Dad loves them. And I think that's the key to parenting, right, is love with limits. It's not unlimited, freedom. Oh, yeah, sure, go run out in the street and get hit, do whatever you want. No, it's I love you the way you are, unconditionally. But here are the outside limits, and here's where we're going to. I want to see you making progress toward your goals, and I'm going to hold you accountable to do that. And so I think they would say they appreciated the fact that I gave them some freedom, some liberty, but kept them moving. And now they're all hard workers. They're all very successful at what they're doing. One of my daughters is graduating next month, becoming a doctor of physical therapy. So I'm so proud of all of them. They're all completely different, but they're all unique as their own thumbprint, and they're all finding their own X factor.
I love that. As a dad-to-be, I just wrote all that down, man. So I appreciate you, Paul Comfort. Let's tell the book. Plug the book one more time.
Yeah, it's Find Your X Factor. It's going to be out August 11th, and you can pre-order it right now on Barnes & Noble.
Fantastic, Paul. We appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time, sir.
Thanks, brother.
All right, it is just about 3:45. Chicago Live rolls on. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, 346. We've got so many things to talk about. Yeah, I always tell people that
You have an agenda for me?
Yeah, yeah, more than you know. Listen, so we're going to take a live shot. We were just watching Lala right now. So there's a band that's playing right now. So this is SB19. This is a boy band debuted in 2018. That is Josh, Justin, Ken, Pablo, and Stell. Pablo's the leader, involved in all the co-writing and co-producing. The crowd's picked up. I mean, listen, we started the show at 1 o'clock. And there was a trickle of people out there, and at one point they were like running around in a circle as one does.
People seem to like this SB19.
Yeah, and this isn't even one of the main stages. This is like one of the side stages in Millennium Park, kind of off to the side. So it would be, if it's the stage I think it is, it's kind of just like right. I mean, I'm pointing at nothing, but it's right there. Have you been to Lala before?
I have not been. So I grew up.
Never been to Lala.
I know.
You are the second person on this show today who's never been to Lala.
I had a feeling I was going to disappoint you with that.
I'm not disappointed. I'm mad.
Yeah.
I'm mad.
Well, as a kid, I was not allowed to come here. I grew up in Chicagoland. I was not allowed to go to Lollapalooza. My parents were like, not happening. You are not getting on the train in
half
high school.
the kids out there aren't allowed to go to Lollapalooza.
Yeah, that's so true. I was a good kid, though. I followed all the rules, so I was like, okay, fine. Michelangelo and Serious Graffiti don't want me going to Lala. I'm not going to Lala. And now, as an adult, at 31, I'm like, do I want to be there with all the high schoolers?
I feel like you got to try it
being
once. If you've never been,
I don't think so.
Yeah, are you a fan of anyone that's in the lineup this year?
So yeah, there are a couple. I mean, I would love to see Tate McRae. I'd love to see John Summit, Olivia Dean. I mean, there are some really, really good people going. I just don't think that I could be standing outside, kind of miserable.
It's a lot. Well, what I'm concerned about, and again, I feel like the old man who's like worried about this. It's going to rain tomorrow. And you know, people's footprints out there in the rain is going to turn it into mud, and that doesn't dry up overnight. So I'm worried that by Saturday morning, it's just going to be a mud pit.
It might be, but you know what? The people there, I don't think care. They're just there for a good time, for good music, and I'm so glad that there are so many people, because this really is so important for Chicago,
it's
right?
Huge.
It's a huge boom for business and all of the things. So I am glad that there are so many people who want to go. It's just, I don't really think it's my scene anymore.
That's fair.
But it's really cool to see all the headliners and just how many people come to Chicago for this. I feel like Chicago is just always such a destination in the summer, and to have just another reason for people to come and check it out.
They got people giving away just from here, from our little corner studio. We can see people walking to Lala. You can see people giving stuff out. I don't want to give them free advertisement because we don't get any money, but they're giving out free little things from here. And
Studio 32 is dangerous because we can people.
Watch
you can
people watch like crazy.
Day.
Yeah, if you walk by the studio, we're watching you and we're judging you.
Yeah, we see you.
Yes.
We're checking out what you're wearing.
And apparently
Casey Cronus says, I see it.
Casey Cronus says that the poncho is what is it called? It's like a poncho that was cool 25 years ago. Not like a Western movie. But apparently that's the new thing.
Oh,
but it's an old thing that's new again.
Makes sense because we talked to Say earlier on the Loop, and she said that boho was really the theme for this year. So that looks very boho.
What does that mean?
Kind of like, how would you describe it, Perry?
Like bohemian?
Like
or do people
airy, stringy. Gosh, I really don't know how to describe it with words. It's just a picture, a vibe.
I'm wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and boots. Like I'm the last person to try to explain fashion to. All right, we got to move on because you're here not just to talk about Lala. You're here for a very specific reason. I'm very excited about this guest. You've had before today 2 amazing guests.
Thank
you had the governor, you had the mayor. But if you are a fan of Chicago sports, if you're a fan of Barstool, if you want to hear about the Bears, I love this guy. I don't think what's funny. I don't think I've ever actually met. He comes in studio
quite a bit. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever met him before. Tell people who's on the podcast this week.
So it's so funny. You know, I was really excited for our first couple of episodes, our first couple of guests, but people are really, really pumped about this week. I have so many people sliding in my DMs. I can't believe you got Barstool Eddie.
Oh, he's great.
Who I'm talking to this week. His real name is Eddie Farrar, but you probably don't even know his last name. He's so iconic. He goes by Barstool Eddie. You know what I mean? So,
exactly. It's like Cher, Madonna, Lady Gaga, Barstool Eddie.
Exactly. One of the first questions I asked him was, how often are you getting called Barstool Eddie versus your government name? Like, what's the ratio? He said, honestly, it's usually Barstool Eddie. And I said, you know, Farrar, the spelling is a little funky. How do you get people to remember that it's pronounced Farrar? Like, I've got a weird one too. Scafidi, people butcher it all the time.
Right.
So I always tell people Scafidi like graffiti.
Oh, that's nice.
Like on the wall. And I said, what's yours? And of course he had one because everybody with a weird name has one. Hamilton, you don't really mess up. It's hard to mess up Hamilton.
Yeah.
He said
especially once the musical came out, I'm good. Yeah.
He says that he tells people it's Ferrari, like Ferrari.
Oh, nice.
How do you forget that?
Okay,
exactly.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Smart.
Exactly.
That's funny that people with unique names
Yeah.
all have a thing.
He didn't even have to think about it or hesitate. Like he had that one locked and loaded, ready to go. So it was a really, really good conversation.
Yeah.
We talked about so much. The first thing that we talked about was Barstool, obviously. If that's part of the nickname, that's a really big part of your life. He was telling us all about how he got started. He said that he always wanted to work in radio, and he said that people kind of looked at him like he was crazy, like where he grew up from, on the northwest side of Chicago. People were like, radio? Eddie, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. And he really, really wanted to do it. He really fell in love with Barstool. And so Barstool was having a kickball tournament. And so he's like, you know what, guys, let's get the friends. Let's all go to this kickball tournament. So they all went to the game.
Yep.
And you could pay basically to bench people. Well, I guess Dave Portnoy and Big Cat, who runs Barstool Chicago, got benched.
Okay.
And so they saw Eddie and they're like, hey, bro, you're in. So then Eddie got to play in the game.
That feels like the beginning of an inspirational Disney sports
it's
movie.
like a movie,
Yes.
exactly, right?
I hear like the natural theme playing. I feel like this is happening.
He had a dream and he was willing
Yes.
to do anything to make it happen. So he plays, he ends up talking to Big Cat and he wants a job at Barstool. And Big Cat was like, you know what? If you can get me 7 smoke shows of the day, which is basically like a pretty girl from the Chicago area that they would post on their social media. If you can get me 7 smoke shows that we can post, we'll consider it. Well, sure enough, he got that, and then it all kind of went on.
That's how he got.
He worked at Barstool, he said, for 6 years for free. Didn't make a dime.
Wow.
Really just wanted to show them that he was there to work.
What was he doing to make money?
I'm not sure exactly what he was doing, but it didn't matter because he
Sure,
had
he
his
got
dream,
in.
gig with Barstool, and it all went uphill from there because he's huge now.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's mad. Now, whenever you have, because I know you come at them with unique questions, not stuff they're prepared for. I'd imagine he's got an answer to every Bears question imaginable. Do you even attempt to talk Bears with him, or do you try to approach Bears from a unique angle? Like, how do you tackle that topic? with him?
Yeah, he's always talking about the Bears, so I didn't want to talk about the Bears too much because the whole point of Not Live is to talk about things that these people don't really get to talk about a whole lot. But of course, I did have to ask him how many years were taken off of his life when he was watching the Bears-Packers playoff game.
Yeah.
He said about a bazillion.
Yeah.
But we talked about other things that he doesn't normally get to talk about. Like I asked him what the vibe is like at the Barstool office, because if you follow Barstool on social media, you know that it's just funny stuff. So you got to have people with big personalities in this office. I said, I imagine that it's just a bunch of really cool people just sitting around having good conversations, laughing, but also a lot of people who know how to get work done because you see all of the content that they're always pushing out. So I said, what is the craziest story that you can tell me from that office? Now, Jake, I want you to imagine what would happen here at Fox Chicago. Now, this is not normally a conversation that I would have on TV, but again, this is all
That's
not live.
always a
so
great start to a story.
We can go a little bit out of bounds here, a little bit off limits. How do you think it would go if somebody clogged a toilet here? What do you think would happen?
Perry?
What do you think would happen here at Fox Chicago if somebody clogged a toilet? Like, what do you think would be the next step? We're getting taken off the air. Okay, so here's what happened at Barstool.
Okay.
I'll spare you.
Let's go.
Somebody took a photo, sent a company-wide email, and was like, "Hey, who's responsible for this?" Nobody was fessing up, naturally. Jake.
Keep going.
They went to the security footage to see who was walking in and out of the bathroom to check and see what time this all went down. They ended up finding the person, and that's as much as I'll say about that story. But can you imagine? And see, this is why we do the podcast, because otherwise you never hear this kind of dirt. I'll tell you another thing. So I feel like it's not often that Jake Hamilton is at a loss of words.
Listen, I talk for a living.
Yeah,
You've rendered me speechless.
So I asked him about snow blowing etiquette. This is something that he's been pretty vocal about on social media. So let's say you live on a neighborhood or live on a street, we'll call it Main Street. You're living on Main Street. You've got houses to the left, you got houses to the right.
Okay.
What do you think is your neighborly obligation for snow blowing in the street?
Oh, that's
do you think
interesting.
You have to help your neighbors out? Do you think you don't have to help your neighbors out?
I mean, I think it's I think there are a lot of extenuating factors. I think it's your relationship with that neighbor. I think it's if they've helped you out in the past. I think it's a matter of like what you're listen, if you're like on the way out the door and you're just trying to get out of the house, trying to get the kids to school. I think there are always extenuating factors.
Yeah. It totally depends on who your neighbors are.
Sure.
Barstool Eddie says that you kind of have an obligation to snowblow one to the left, one to the right.
Sure.
And if you're good friends with people beyond that, then maybe you go one house over. So you're doing like 3 houses plus your own. That's a big to-do.
That seems excessive.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I know a lot of people that would agree with that.
I said, if the storm is really, really bad,
right,
you don't help anyone. It is like every man for himself, right? Like if I've got like 6-7 inches in my driveway, I don't know if I can really help you out. I'm gonna be busy with my own.
Yeah,
but if it's only like a couple inches, then yeah, maybe I can.
I worry about people taking advantage of that because then
Yeah.
they're always gonna wait on like the guy to their left and their right, kind of helping them out a little bit, and I'm like, nah, fam.
Lots of good conversations with Barstool.
Oh my God, it sounds like it.
Yes.
Can you tease without telling me? Well, I always want to find out after the break, but tease who next week's going to be?
Yes, next week. He has been around Chicago politics for decades.
Okay.
And he can kind of get you in trouble. We'll leave it at that.
Wait.
Was that enough without saying who it is?
Yeah, honestly, my mind did kind of go there for a second.
Our producer's like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great tease. Let people know where they can find the show.
The Barstool Eddie podcast is out now. You can check it out on Spotify. You can also see it on all of our streaming services, right? You can check it out on our website, on our app, on our YouTube page, you name it. It is available now. So just take a listen while you're driving home today. There's going to be traffic with Lala, right? So just put it on.
And look at all the people. Look at all the people lining up to go listen.
Wow.
Those aren't the Lala gates. That's to go listen to Lauren's podcast.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, they heard
See?
that Barstool Eddie was on Not
See?
Live, and they're
Exactly
like,
right.
we'll be there.
Exactly
we actually took
right.
that shot a little bit earlier on the loop today.
Yes,
at
look at
11
that.
o'clock when the gates open. You guys, I don't know if you saw it, but people were sprinting.
Oh, I saw them sprinting.
Oh my
For the
goodness.
first show on a Thursday.
Yeah. Look at all those people. They look like little
For the
ants
first
out
show
there.
on a Thursday.
Oh,
Wow.
so exciting. This really
All right,
is just such an
we
exciting
gotta go.
time
We
of
got
the
10
year.
seconds.
Oh,
Toss
no.
the Fox 32
Bye,
News at 4 o'clock with T and Anita starts right now. Okay, see you later. Go.
See
Bye.
ya.
From Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
Cops and checkpoints around Lollapalooza. Yes, the lineup is stacked, but what's making security the main event?